I lay on that hospital bed, paralyzed, unable to move or speak. My body was skin and bones, covered in old wounds, lying in my own filth. I couldn't even recognize myself anymore. The woman I used to be 50 years ago was gone. Then they walked in. Lu Chendong, my ex-husband, and Wenxiu, his mistress. She was dressed head to toe in expensive clothes and jewelry, looking like some noble lady, while I rotted away in this place. She covered her nose the moment she stepped in, disgusted by the smell of the room I'd been trapped in for years. And then they started talking, right in front of me, like I was already dead. Wenxiu told me the truth. All of it. She said that Chengye, the son I raised my entire life, was never mine. He was theirs. Lu Chendong and Wenxiu's biological child. They made me adopt him and raise him as my own while they lived together behind my back. My blood ran cold. All those years of sacrifice for someone else's son. But it got worse. Lu Chendong confessed that years ago, when we were sent to the countryside, he drugged me. He wanted to take advantage of me, but something went wrong, and another man ended up with me instead. I got pregnant from that night, but it wasn't Lu Chendong's child. So he pushed me into the water to make me miscarry. The fall damaged my body so badly that I could never have children again. He married me anyway, not out of love but because of my family background and my looks. He pretended to be the one from that night, so I would agree to marry him. All along, he resented me for what happened, even though he was the one who set the whole thing up. He even told me that the real man from that night, he was a military officer. He came back looking for me, sent me nutrition supplies and money when I was pregnant, and tried to visit me several times. But Lu Chendong chased him away every time. That man later died on a mission. He never got to meet me again. Wenxiu wasn't done. She told me that while I was working myself to the bone building the family business, Lu Chendong was spending every day with her and their children. I wasn't just raising their son. I was funding their entire life. My money fed her, clothed her kids, and kept her man comfortable. And the final blow, she confessed that she was the one who reported General Guanbiao, my protector. She used a recording Lu Chendong gave her to destroy him. Without Guanbiao, I had no one left to shield me. They waited until I discovered their affair and asked for a divorce. Then they moved fast to eliminate the one person who could have helped me. They told me everything because I was dying. They had nothing left to fear. My ex-husband even blamed me for being too capable, too successful. He said my strength made him feel weak, and that's why I deserved everything that happened to me. I lay there, shaking, unable to scream, unable to cry out. My whole life, decades of hard work, loyalty, and love, it was all built on lies. I was nothing but a tool they used and threw away. I died staring at them with pure hatred, my eyes bloodshot, my mouth open in a silent scream. Wenxiu had pulled back my blanket and saw the maggots crawling on my rotting body. She screamed in disgust, and Lu Chendong stepped back like I was garbage. They left in a hurry like my dying body was bad luck. My whole life was one giant lie. My mother's marriage was fake. My father Lin Yaohua had a child bride hidden as my aunt. The cousins I grew up with were actually my half-siblings. My grandfather's entire family was destroyed on purpose. My own father reported them, had their ancestral hall raided, and got them sent to a labor camp in the far northwest where they all died within a year. My mother died while I was sent to the countryside, and I didn't even know until years later. My father tricked me into going down to the village, and once I was there, Lu Chendong drugged me. I hit him with a rock and ran, but the drug was too strong. I collapsed and lost consciousness. Someone else found me that night, not Lu Chendong. But I didn't know that. I thought it was him. He threatened me into silence. He said if I reported him, he'd tell everyone I seduced him first. I was 18. I didn't know how to fight back. So I gave in and married him. When I got pregnant, I thought the child was his. At 7 months, I accidentally fell into the river and lost the baby. The miscarriage destroyed my body. I could never have children again. I spent years feeling guilty toward him, never knowing he was the one who pushed me. Later, Guanbiao, the underground boss of Rome City, helped us get back to the city. He owed my grandfather his life, and he treated me like his own daughter. He was my protector, the only person who truly looked out for me. After we settled down, Lu Chendong suggested we adopt a 2-year-old boy. We named him Lu Chengye. I raised that child with everything I had. I never suspected that Lu Chendong had another family outside, that the boy was actually his and Li Wenxiu's son. Lu Chendong stayed with me only for my family's wealth. He kept up the act of a loving husband for years. It wasn't until I came home one day and caught my father with his so-called sister, his child bride Feng Jiaojiao, that everything began to unravel. That's when I realized my mother's death might not have been natural. I started investigating, but I was alone and powerless. Then Guan Biao reached out to me. He had connections, resources, people. He wanted to help me uncover the truth. My grandfather had saved his life years ago, and Guan Biao never forgot that debt. Without my grandfather's support, Guan Biao would never have become who he was. I died with a heart full of rage and regret. I thought I'd fall into hell and become a vengeful ghost. But instead, I opened my eyes. I was 18 again. A voice rang in my head. Congratulations, host. Your resentment has reached maximum level. You have earned a chance to live again, and the Spirit Spring space has been activated. If I could do it all over, every single one of them would pay. After my grandfather's family was sent away, Guan Biao wanted to save them, but my grandfather told him not to get involved. Things were too dangerous at the time, and grandfather believed the Jiang family had deep enough roots to survive anything. He thought they could recover once things calmed down, but he never imagined they would all die less than a year after being sent to the northwest. Guan Biao was a loyal man. He spent years investigating how my grandfather's family died. Communication was terrible back then, and the distance was enormous, so it took him a long time. By the time he found my mother, she was already dead. Then he came looking for me, only to find I'd already married Lu Chendong in the countryside. He arranged for 2 spots to return to the city and brought us back. He tried to help me early on, but I refused. I was stubborn and didn't want to burden him. It wasn't until he finished investigating everything that he came to me with the truth. My father, Lin Yaohua, had discovered that the Jiang family cemetery held a massive fortune: gold, silver, jewels. That's why he destroyed my grandfather's family. He wanted it all for himself. And my mother. She was murdered too, by my father and his child bride Feng Jiaojiao. I wanted to tear them apart with my own hands, but Guan Biao wouldn't let me get involved. In 1974, a fire broke out at the Lin family home. My father, his parents, Feng Jiaojiao, and even Lin Rue and his wife and children, all burned to death. A month later, Lin Kaiwei drowned in a so-called accident. Guan Biao did all of it. After that, he disappeared for 3 years. When he came back, he posed as a businessman returning from Hong Kong. I was 27 that year. My marriage to Lu Chendong was never built on love. I was forced into it, and I couldn't have children, but he treated me decently enough, so we coexisted in peace. After the Lin family matter was settled, Guan Biao sent me abroad to study for 3 years. I learned fashion design. I had a natural talent for drawing and picked things up fast despite my age. When I came back, Lu Chengye was already 7. He was a well-behaved child. Lu Chendong worked as a factory floor manager and didn't earn much. I covered most of our expenses. After I returned from abroad, I started learning business under Guan Biao in 1980. By 1985, I owned my own clothing factory. My business grew bigger and bigger, and Lu Chendong had to answer to me. He played the role of a good father, taking care of the house and the child while I focused on work. When his factory shut down in 1990, he became a full-time house husband. I supported Lu Chendong. Lu Chendong supported his woman and their children on the side. This went on until 1995, when Lu Chengye was 22 and had joined my company after graduating college. That's when I discovered Lu Chendong's affair. I didn't make a scene. I calmly prepared divorce papers. I was 45. Guan Biao was 69. But shortly after the divorce came up, Guan Biao was arrested. Someone had turned in a recording, evidence linking him to the Lin family fire from 21 years ago. The police took the case seriously. Guan Biao carried more than just the Lin family deaths on his shoulders, but the other cases were too old to prove. Only the Lin case had fresh evidence. I ran everywhere trying to save him, but Guan Biao refused my help. He said he didn't have many years left anyway and didn't want to drag me down. After he was executed, I collapsed. To me, he was a father, not by blood, but in every way that mattered. He left me everything he had. I spent months trying to find out who reported him. I barely slept, barely ate. My body gave out, and I showed the first signs of a stroke. Chendong got on his knees and swore the affair meant nothing, that the woman had seduced him. I had only seen them hugging, and with Chengye just starting at the company and my health failing, I put the divorce on hold again. By 2003, the stroke had paralyzed my lower body. I needed a wheelchair to get around. That same year, Chendong brought Wenxiu and her 2 other children right into our home. I wanted to divorce him desperately, but Chengye begged me to wait. He'd just become chairman of the company and didn't want a scandal. Then they put me in the nursing home. Chengye visited a few times at first, then stopped coming entirely. Chendong never came at all. After 5 years, I stopped hoping. All I wanted was the divorce. I refused to die as that man's wife. But my upper body started failing too. By 2018, I was a vegetable, unable to move a single muscle. All those decades flashed through my mind like a movie. And then, I sat up. I looked down at my hands. Slender. Smooth. Young. I was breathing hard, gasping, hardly believing it. I was 18 again. I was really back. The hatred inside me was so overwhelming it felt like my chest would explode. Everything from my past life was still vivid. Every betrayal, every lie, every stolen year. I couldn't hold it in. I screamed. Cece? What's wrong? Cece. What's wrong? My mother's voice. My mother's face. Soft, gentle eyes looking at me with worry. I stared at her, my lips trembling. She was alive. My mother was alive. Mom. Mom? She rushed over and wrapped her arms around me. I grabbed her waist and sobbed like a child. In my last life, she died while I was away in the countryside, and I didn't even find out until years later. But here she was, warm, breathing, real. I forced myself to look around. My old bedroom. The calendar on the wall read April 3rd, 1968. I was 18 again, back in the house my grandfather had bought for my parents, a 2-story Western-style home that my father, Lin Yaohua, could never have afforded on his own. Everything he had came from my mother's family. 2 days. I had exactly 2 days before everything would fall apart. April 5th, Qingming Festival, Tombs Sweeping Day. That was the day they came for my grandfather's family. I remembered it perfectly. Last time, my mother and I went to grandfather's house a day early to prepare for the ancestor worship. Lin Yaohua said he was busy and didn't come with us. Of course he didn't. He was the one who set the whole thing up. This time, I wouldn't let it happen. My mother smiled and told me she'd made my favorite seafood porridge. She said my uncle had just come back from High City with gifts, little foreign dresses for me and my cousin Wanwan a doll, and a rare set of colored pencils he got just for me because he knew I loved to draw. Hearing her talk like that, so happy and warm, my heart felt full in a way I hadn't felt in decades. I jumped out of bed and got dressed fast. My mind was already working. Lin Yaohua was probably already making moves to steal the treasures hidden in my grandfather's ancestral cemetery. And Feng Jiaojiao, that woman who pretended to be my aunt, all those years while secretly being my father's child bride and raising their 2 bastard children under our roof, eating our food, spending our money, while my mother had to tolerate her presence. Not this time. None of them would get away with it. I went downstairs and waited until my mother wasn't looking. Then I picked up the phone and called Guan Biao. Thank God I still remembered the number. Hello? Uncle Guan, it's Cece. His deep voice came through the line. Cece? Calling so early, is something wrong? Just hearing his voice made my throat tighten. In my last life, I was scared of him as a child. But now, knowing everything he did for me, everything he sacrificed, I could barely hold back my tears. I didn't waste time. I told him straight. Lin Yaohua had been cheating on my mother. He had 2 children with that woman. I told Uncle Guan to find a way to send Lin Yaohua, Feng Jiaojiao, and their 2 brats to the countryside for labor reform within the next 2 days. I even named the exact village, Hatou Village, Baiyang Commune, Qi County, and City. He exploded. Lin Yahua dared to betray your mother. Then I told him the harder part. I said I suspected Lin Yahua had set up the Jiang family, that my grandfather's family was already on the list to be raided. I told him it was probably too late to stop it, but he needed to cut all contact with the Jiang family immediately, so he wouldn't get dragged in. I said I'd handle grandfather myself. He was confused. He couldn't understand why Lin Yahua would destroy his own wife's family. But I told him, in 2 days, he'd see for himself. I told him not to kill Lin Yahua. A quick death was too easy. I wanted them to suffer slowly. I'd settle every debt myself. Right now, my most urgent task was to get to grandfather's house and move every single piece of the Jiang family's hidden wealth before Lin Yahua could steal it. The less they found during the raid, the better chance my family had of surviving. After I hung up the phone, I knew Uncle Guan would handle things on his end. He wasn't the kind of man people cross lightly. The tattoo of the 10 kings of hell on his neck said enough about who he was. His right-hand man, Qiao Si, had never even seen him that angry before. Uncle Guan told Qiao Si to investigate Lin Yahua's affair, then put him in a sack and beat him half to death tonight. After that, slap a charge on him and ship him off to Hatou Village for labor reform. While they took care of that, I slipped into the bathroom to test something. The system voice had mentioned a spirit spring space, and I needed to know if it was real. I focused my mind, and suddenly I was standing in a completely different world. Blue sky, clear river, endless green grass stretching to the horizon. At my feet was dark, rich soil, already tilled and ready for planting, about 1 acre of land. There was even a spirit spring at the edge of the field. I wanted to check it out, but someone started banging on the bathroom door. Lin Shi, did you fall in the toilet? Lin Rui. That little bastard. I yanked the door open and looked at his impatient face. In my past life, I never understood what he really was. Now I knew he was my father's illegitimate son, not my cousin at all. I didn't hold back. You're banging like you're afraid a dog will steal your food. Every time I use the bathroom, you're at the door. You really need to fix that habit. He stood there for a second before he realized I was calling him a dog. He grabbed my wrist, furious. Lin Shi, did you just call me a dog? I shook his hand off and looked him dead in the eyes. If I were you, I'd keep my tail between my legs. People living under someone else's roof shouldn't act so bold. Unless they want to get kicked out. I walked to the dining table, without looking back. Lin Kaiwei was there, helping the old lady sit down, and immediately started with her passive-aggressive nonsense. Big Sister Cece, Grandma hasn't even sat down yet, and you're already eating? The old lady shot me a disapproving look, but kept quiet since my mother kept the household running smoothly. I ignored them all, sat my mother down, and served her a fried egg and a bowl of seafood porridge. Mom, eat quickly. We need to get to grandfather's house. My mother called out to the old lady and asked if Feng Jiaojiao was awake yet. Lin Kaiwei answered for her. My mom heard her back last night, so she's probably sleeping in. I nearly threw up. In my past life, I never caught the meaning behind comments like that. Now I understood perfectly. She was bragging that Lin Yahua had spent the night in Feng Jiaojiao's room. While my mother slept alone, that animal was sneaking off to his mistress under the same roof. I swallowed my rage and asked my mother if she was done eating. Then Lin Rui came storming out of the bathroom, pointing his finger in my face. Lin Shi, explain yourself. Who were you calling a dog? Feng Jiaojiao slithered out of her room in a silk nightgown, looking smug and satisfied, her eyes full of challenge when she glanced at my mother. Lin Kaiwei piled on. Sister Cece, how could you call my brother a dog? Doesn't that mean you're insulting Grandma too? We're all family here. The old lady slammed the table. You're getting more disrespectful by the day. Look at how well-behaved Kaiwei is. Where are your manners? I looked at every one of their ugly faces. Then I smiled, grabbed the tablecloth, and ripped it clean off the table. Everything, bowls, porridge, plates, crashed to the floor. Lin Kaiwei and the old lady screamed and jumped up, porridge dripping down their clothes. I dusted off my hands calmly and stared at them with ice-cold eyes. This is my house. If you want to keep living here, learn to keep your heads down. Otherwise, I'll throw you out myself. I grabbed my mother's hand and walked out the door. We had to get to grandfather's house. Now that I knew the Spirit Spring space was real, my plan was clear: get to the Jiang family home and move every piece of hidden wealth into my space before Lin Yaohua could steal it. But I wasn't just going to save the treasure. I was going to convince my grandfather to voluntarily donate the family's visible property and the old mansion, then take the whole family to the countryside willingly. Volunteering to go was completely different from being sent to a labor camp. If grandfather went on his own terms, donating property and accepting re-education from the peasants, the treatment in the village would be far better. They could hide there safely for a few years until the political climate changed, then come back to the city. With the Jiang family's hidden fortune safe in my space, they'd have enough wealth to last generations. And with the Spirit Spring space, even life in the countryside wouldn't be too hard. I'd make sure my family survived this time. My mother watched me quietly as we walked. She'd never seen me like this before. The old Lin, she was gentle, soft-spoken, well-mannered. But that girl was dead. This time, I wasn't going to be anyone's victim. Back at the Lin house, I knew exactly what was happening without being there. The old lady was furious, ranting about how I dared flip the table. Lin Rui ran to her like a spoiled brat, whining that I called him a dog. Feng Jiaojiao played the victim, wiping fake tears, saying they were just living under someone else's roof and had to endure it. The old lady swore she'd make Lin Yaohua punish me when he got home. But they also reminded each other to stay careful, not to blow their cover. Lin Yaohua had told them all to be patient, that soon he and Feng Jiaojiao would be together openly. They knew their comfortable life depended on my mother and the Jiang family's money. Feng Jiaojiao wasn't stupid. She understood that if the truth came out too early, she might get Lin Yaohua, but she'd lose everything else: the nice house, the easy life, the future for her children. So they all agreed to keep pretending a little longer. Too bad for them. They'd already run out of time. My mother and I rode our bicycles to grandfather's estate. She used to ride in cars back when she lived with the Jiang family. It was only after marrying Lin Yaohua that she had to learn to ride a bike, and even though it was bought by her own family. She met Lin Yaohua in college. They fell in love, and grandfather's family didn't approve at first. The man was poor and had nothing, but my mother insisted, so they gave in. They thought a poor man would treasure their daughter. Instead, they got a snake. When we arrived at the old Jiang mansion, I could hear laughter from inside before we even reached the hall. Grandfather, grandmother, my uncle Jiang Zhiyuan, they were all there, happy, alive. It felt like a dream. Just yesterday, I was a rotting corpse in a nursing home, and now everyone I loved was right in front of me. My uncle rushed over the moment he saw us. Cece, I haven't seen you in over a month. I missed you. He pulled me down to sit next to him. My eyes got wet before I could stop them. Uncle, it's been a long time. He laughed and teased me for getting emotional, then sent my little cousin Yunwan, a lively 10-year-old girl, to take me upstairs to see the gifts he'd brought back from High City. Pretty dresses, dolls, and that rare set of colored pencils he'd hunted down just for me because he knew I loved to draw. In my past life, I had been thrilled to see those dresses. But now, my heart was filled with nothing but hatred and urgency. I had no room for pretty things. I told Yunwan I needed the bathroom and slipped away. The Jiang estate was a grand traditional compound, 3 courtyards deep. Behind the main grounds stood the family ancestral hall. I knew it well. Behind the highest spirit tablet on the altar was a hidden switch. Press it, and the entire wall behind the tablets would slide open, revealing a secret passage about a meter wide. I bowed to the ancestors, moved the tablet, and pressed the base. The wall shifted open silently. I pulled out a flashlight I'd taken from Yunwan's room and shone it down into the darkness. Stone stairs, thick with dust. No one had been down here in a very long time. I descended about 2 or 3 meters underground and found myself in a hidden vault. It was packed with large wooden chests, 20 or 30 of them, plus shelves lined with porcelain, bronze vessels, and ancient artifacts. I didn't waste time opening anything. I swept the entire room clean, pulling every single item into my spirit spring space. Then I left immediately. Next was the basement under the front courtyard. Grandfather had taken me there before, so I knew where it was and where the key was hidden. This basement was enormous, over 100 square meters. One entire wall was lined with precious liquors, aged baijiu, imported Western wines, case after case still sealed. There were valuable collectibles, expensive teas, and since grandfather loved collecting rare Chinese medicine, the shelves held ginseng, deer antler, cordyceps, and bird's nest, all incredibly precious. I moved everything into my space without hesitation. The ancestral hall vault and the basement were done. Tonight, I'd go to the Jiang family cemetery to clear out the treasures buried there, the same ones Lin Yahua had been planning to steal. Beyond that, I needed Uncle Guan to help me stockpile supplies. Since I had the space, I should fill it with as much as possible. The place we were headed wasn't some peaceful countryside village. It was a barren, miserable mountain valley. I remembered the suffering from my past life at Hetou village. I survived it once, but this time, my family wouldn't have to go through that kind of hardship. With enough supplies stored in my space, we'd be comfortable no matter where we ended up. I swept everything from the basement into my space and took one last look at the empty room. Perfect. Then I hurried out. My mother caught me as soon as I stepped outside. Cece? Where did you go? Yunwan's been looking everywhere for you. I told her I'd just been walking around the back courtyard, then asked where grandfather and uncle were. She said they were in the main hall. My cousin Zhang Yunzhou had come home and was asking grandfather for permission to join the army. Grandfather was refusing. Join the army. I remembered this from my past life. Yunzhou had wanted to enlist back then too, but grandfather wouldn't allow it, and then the family was destroyed before anything could happen. But this time, maybe this was actually an opportunity. I ran to the hall as fast as I could. My mother called after me, confused, but I didn't slow down. Inside, 17-year-old Yunzhou was arguing with grandfather. The old man had already raised his cane, ready to smack some sense into the boy. You made this decision without asking the family? How dare you? Yunzhou hid behind grandmother. Grandpa, you're being unreasonable. Grandmother scolded grandfather for losing his temper. The Jiang family had always been small in numbers. Grandfather had only one son, 2 grandsons, and 1 granddaughter. He couldn't bear the thought of any of them going somewhere dangerous. I stepped in, took the cane from grandfather's hand, and said calmly, Grandpa, I need to talk to you. Can we go to the study? He thought I wanted to speak up for Yunzhou. I shook my head. It's about the Jiang family. Please, the study. He'd never seen me this serious before. Something in my expression made the color drain from his face. He glared at Yunzhou one more time, then followed me. Once the door was closed, I didn't waste a second. Grandpa, the Jiang family is about to be destroyed. He stared at me. What nonsense is this? What have you heard? I changed the subject first. Grandpa, do you remember Feng Jiaojiao, your aunt? Of course. What about her? She's not my aunt. She's not Lin Yahua's sister at all. She's a child bride his family raised for him. Lin Rue and Lin Kaiwei aren't my cousins. They're Lin Yahua's children with her. Grandfather didn't question me for a single second. His face turned dark with rage. That animal. He dares keep his mistress and bastard children under my daughter's own roof. Grandpa, please listen. There's more. Lin Yahua has reported the Jiang family. We're already on the list. The day after tomorrow, the morning of Qingming, they'll come to raid the estate. Lin Yahua wants everything, the property, the fortune, all of it. Once the Jiang family falls, he'll divorce my mother and take the wealth to live happily with Feng Jiaojiao and their children. What we need to do right now is donate everything, the mansion, the visible assets, all of it, before they come. Then we volunteer to go to the countryside. If we go willingly, we'll be treated far better than if we're dragged away. Grandfather sat in silence for a moment. Cece, where did you hear all this? Is the information reliable? I've already asked Uncle Guan to investigate. He'll have answers soon. That was enough. Grandfather believed me, mostly because he'd already sensed it coming. The Jiang family had been too wealthy for too long in a time when everyone was supposed to have nothing. No matter how low they kept their heads, People were always watching, always hungry for a piece of them. Being raided was only a matter of time. Lin Yaohua had just accelerated it. Grandfather sighed heavily. I always knew this day would come. I just didn't think it would be so soon. The old mansion. We can't keep it. Donating it is better than having it destroyed. But my basement, all those treasures I collected over the years. And the ancestral hall. He was thinking the hidden vault beneath the hall might survive. It had been secret enough to escape searches before. I cut him off. Grandpa, Lin Yaohua, isn't just after the house and the business. He knows about the vault under the ancestral hall. And he knows about the treasure buried beneath the ancestral tombs. Grandfather's face went white. The hall vault. He could understand how Lin Yaohua might know about that since my mother and several family members were aware of it. But the cemetery treasure was the Jiang family's last resort, a secret passed down only to the head of each generation. How could Lin Yaohua possibly know? The moment I mentioned the ancestral tomb treasure, Grandfather believed everything. His face went pale. Cici, how could Lin Yaohua know about the tomb? Even your mother doesn't know about that. Only the family head knows. I sighed. He overheard you and grandmother talking about it one night. Remember when we stayed over because of the rain? He was listening outside your bedroom door. Grandfather's hands trembled with anger. We treated that man like family. We gave him everything. And this is how he repays us. I looked him straight in the eyes. Grandpa, do you trust me? If you do, go to the government office today and submit the donation paperwork. Give away the mansion and all the visible assets. Then sign up the whole family to go to the countryside voluntarily. As for the basement, the ancestral hall, and the tomb, don't worry about any of it. I promise I can move everything to a safe place. No one will find it. He was confused. Even if I believe you, there are probably people already watching this house. How could you possibly move all that without being caught? Just trust me. I have a way. Then I pushed him on something else. And about Yunzhou wanting to join the army. You should let him go. Grandpa, after everything that's happened, don't you see? Money alone can't protect this family. You need power. You need someone in a position of authority. Let Yunzhou go serve. Maybe he'll earn the Jiang family the kind of protection that money never could. Then no one will dare put a label on us again. That hit him hard. He sat there thinking for a long time. The Jiang family had wealth for generations, but no political power, no military connections. That's why they were always a target, rich enough to be worth destroying, but powerless to stop it. We talked for a long time in the study. When Grandfather finally came out, he looked like he'd aged 10 years. He called Uncle Zhiyuan and Yunzhou into the study next. The three of them talked behind closed doors for a while. When they came out, all three had heavy, serious faces. Even Yunzhou, the wild, reckless teenager, had changed. He looked steady now, like he understood what was at stake. Yunzhou said a quick goodbye to the family and rushed out the door. Uncle Zhiyuan left right after. He was going to handle the donation paperwork at the government office. Grandmother watched them go, worry all over her face. What's going on? Did something happen? I was thinking about whether to tell my mother the truth about Lin Yaohua. She deserved to know more than anyone. Maybe it would shatter the marriage she believed in for years, but that marriage was built on lies. Better to break it now than let it keep poisoning her life. Before I could decide, the phone rang. A servant answered and said it was for Grandfather. He picked up. It was Uncle Guan. Old master, it's me. Did Cici tell you about Lin Yaohua? Grandfather's voice was urgent. She told me. A bio. Have you confirmed it? Did he really betray my daughter? And the raid, is it certain? Everything Cici said is true. Lin Yaohua has teamed up with Zhu Jiwen. Zhu's oldest son, Zhu Tao, is the captain of the local Red Guard unit. The Jiang family won't escape this time. Grandfather's face tightened. Zhu Jiwen, that old rival who'd been competing with the Jiang family for decades. Now he'd joined forces with a traitor from inside the family to finally take them down. Grandfather told Uncle Guan firmly not to get involved. Don't get yourself tangled up in this. You have enough trouble of your own. If they catch you interfering, your situation will be worse than ours. Uncle Guan offered to smuggle us out on a cargo ship to Hong Kong. Leave while you still can. Money can be earned again, but if they send your whole family to a labor camp, you might not survive. But grandfather shook his head. It's too risky to run. I'm following Cece's plan. Donate everything on the surface, then volunteer to go to the countryside. Zhiyuan is already filing the paperwork. As long as we finish before they come, they won't be able to touch us. Uncle Guan was sharp. When grandfather said everything on the surface, he understood immediately. The family still had hidden reserves. That put his mind at ease. All right, old master. If you've got it handled, I won't push. I'll arrange regular supply deliveries to wherever you end up. You won't go hungry or cold. I'll make sure of it. Uncle Guan offered to send supplies to us in the countryside, but grandfather refused. After we leave, cut all contact. Don't let anyone connect you to us. We'll be fine. The whole family will be together. Just stay safe in Rong City. When we come back, I'll reach out. Grandfather didn't know yet how brutal village life would be. But he was right about one thing. Uncle Guan couldn't afford to be linked to us.
Not now.
After the call, my mother and grandmother could tell something serious had happened. My mother looked at grandfather with worried eyes. Dad?
What's going on?
What are we donating? Why are we going to the countryside? Grandfather sat down slowly on the leather sofa, running his hand across it like he was saying goodbye. The Zhang family is on the raid list. They'll come in the next 2 days. I've sent Zhiyuan to file donation papers at the city government. We need to give away everything before they take it. Then we all go to the countryside. My mother went pale. Grandmother nearly collapsed onto the sofa. My Aunt Chao Shuqin rushed to catch the old lady. Grandfather didn't want to say more with everyone present. He was trying to protect my mother from being blamed. But I had no such hesitation. My mother needed to wake up. Grandma, this was all Lin Yao was doing. He betrayed my mother. He has children with another woman. Children he's been raising right under our roof, making my mother serve them for over 10 years. Now he's teaming up with outsiders to destroy the Zhang family, so he can steal everything. The room went dead silent. My mother stared at me in disbelief. Cece, what are you saying? You can't just make things like this up. Mom, you've been living in a dream for 20 years. It's time to wake up. Feng Jiaojiao is not Lin Yaohua's sister. She's his child bride. Lin Rui and Lin Kaiwei are his children. When they lived in the countryside, Lin Yaohua's mother took care of him. Then she convinced Feng Jiaojiao to come to the city pretending to be his widowed sister. Every time he woke up in the middle of the night and he wasn't in bed, he was in her room. Mom, we were all fooled. He only married you because he wanted the Jiang family's money. Every word landed like a hammer. My mother could barely breathe. She thought back to all those nights Lin Yaohua wasn't beside her. All those flimsy excuses she accepted. The smug looks Feng Jiaojiao gave her that she'd mistaken for shyness. She'd even felt sorry for Feng Jiaojiao, a young widow raising 2 children alone, and had gone out of her way to spare her from housework. My aunt was furious. That animal. Cece, don't be scared. When your cousins and your uncle get back, we'll go teach that scum a lesson. Grandmother slammed the table. I told you from the beginning that boy was no good. You insisted on marrying him. Before your wedding you had servants waiting on you. You never lifted a finger. Look at the life you've been living. And you still thought you were happy. My mother fell to her knees in front of grandmother, tears streaming down her face.
Mom, I'm sorry.
Your daughter was blind. I was a fool. She was heartbroken, but underneath the heartbreak was rage. No matter how much she once loved Lin Yaohua, the moment he touched her family, she wanted him dead. Grandfather walked over and gently pulled her up. That's enough. Your mother is just worried about you. At least now we see him for what he is. It's not too late. The Jiang family will take a hard hit, but as long as we're all alive, we can rebuild. Now let's hear what Cece has planned. I laid it all out. Mom, we don't have time to go after Lin Yaohua right now. The plan is simple. Donate everything the Jiang family owns on paper, then volunteer to go to the countryside before the raid happens. We'll lie low for a few years and come back to Rong City when the political climate changes. As for Lin Yaohua, don't worry. I've already asked Uncle Guan to arrange it. His entire family will be sent to the same village as us for labor reform. Once we're there, we'll have all the time in the world to deal with them. Grandfather nodded approvingly. Grandmother was still seething. She didn't want to let Lin Yahua off easy, but she understood this wasn't the time for revenge. Fine, if you've all decided, then let's do it, Grandmother said, already thinking practically. But we need to bring food, money, and ration tickets to the countryside, right? Grandfather shook his head. With Zhu Jiwen's son watching us, how much do you think they'll let us carry? We've lived well, for many years. A few years of hardship won't kill us. Take whatever you can manage, that's all. My aunt looked pained. Dad, are we really donating everything? I can't even keep my jewelry. When I mentioned I could keep their valuables safe, Grandmother's eyes lit up. She grabbed my hands. Really? You can save them? Aunt Shuqin jumped in immediately. Cece, one box might not be enough. Can we pack more? I nodded. Pack as many boxes as you need. Just leave them in the ancestral hall. I'll have someone take care of them. Grandfather studied me carefully. I could tell he was seeing me differently now, not as his gentle little granddaughter anymore, but as someone he couldn't quite figure out. He didn't know how I planned to pull this off, but he had no choice except to trust me. I comforted my mother for a while until I was sure she'd be okay, then headed out. I needed to register for the countryside program. It was the peak season for educated youth going to the villages, so I took my documents and my mother's, stood in line, and got our spots confirmed quickly, names, destination, everything sorted. Then I found a phone booth and called Uncle Guan again. Uncle Guan, I need supplies. I don't have any way to buy them myself, so I need your help. You think I'd say no? Just tell me what you need. I can get anything. I rattled off a long list. Rice, flour, cooking oil, all kinds of grain. Candy and malted milk powder, live chickens, ducks, and geese, piglets, if he could find them, vegetable and fruit seeds for every season, live fish, shrimp, and crabs, clothes and shoes for all 4 seasons, fabric, lots of it, and a sewing machine. My space had a small river. It wasn't big, but it could hold fish and shellfish. And I had real skill with a sewing machine. In my past life, I'd built an entire fashion empire. That skill wasn't going to waste. Uncle Guan was stunned. Girl, can you even carry all this? Don't worry about that. Just get me as much rice, flour, and oil as you can find by tomorrow evening. Buy whatever daily necessities you can, especially anything that's hard to find. And load up on soap, shampoo, hygiene supplies. Time is short, Uncle Guan. Please hurry. He agreed without hesitation. He even sounded happy. He told me later it was the first time I'd ever asked him for anything, the first time I'd treated him like I wasn't afraid of him. In the past, I'd barely look him in the eye. I'll have everything ready by tomorrow afternoon. Where do you want it delivered? Send it to your old warehouse. I'll have someone pick it up tomorrow evening. Don't leave anyone guarding it. I don't want it attracting attention. Then I added one more thing. Uncle Guan, I also need a small black one. The kind with a silencer. He went quiet for a moment. Guns weren't unusual at this time. The government hadn't started large-scale confiscation yet, and plenty of villagers kept homemade shotguns for hunting or protection. But I wanted something better. Uncle Guan had an entire weapon stockpile. I knew about it from my past life. One small handgun wasn't going to be a problem. Cece, that's not easy to hide. If someone finds it in the countryside, you'll be in serious trouble. I have my own way to keep it hidden. Trust me, no one will find it. He gave in like he always did when I pushed. After hanging up, I went to the department store. I still had a stack of ration tickets, and I was going to spend every last one today. I wasn't sure yet whether my space could keep things fresh, so I didn't buy too much meat or vegetables. I carried a simple basket with a towel over the top. Whenever I put something in, I sent it straight into my space. Nobody noticed a thing. I went through the farmer's market first, then swept through the department store. Household goods on the first floor, furniture and appliances on the second, clothing on the third. I didn't stop until every ticket was gone. By the time I got back to the Jiang estate, it was evening. Uncle Zhiyuan and Yun Zhou were already back. Everyone was sitting in the main hall with heavy faces. I noticed my older cousin, Jiang Yunting, was there too. Yunting worked at a machinery factory and had a stable job. He didn't need to come with us. He was even engaged to the factory director's daughter, Shen Yutong. If he went to the countryside, the engagement would be called off. But the moment he saw me, he spoke up. I already know everything. I'm going with you. Grandpa and Grandma are old. My parents have never suffered a day in their lives. Yunzhou is leaving for the army. Someone has to be there to hold things together. And Lin Yaohua, after what he did to Annie, I won't let him get away with it.
Don't try to talk me out of going.
That factory job pays nothing anyway. Our family doesn't need it. For anyone else, a job at the machinery factory would be a dream, an iron rice bowl, guaranteed income. But for the Jiang family, that salary was pocket change. If private businesses were allowed, Yenting and Uncle Zhiyuan would have been running their own companies long ago. Uncle Zhiyuan tried to talk Yenting out of it, but grandfather agreed with his grandson. Let him come. No point splitting the family up. Yenting, go get your countryside papers first thing tomorrow morning. I reminded Yenting about his engagement to Xin Yutong, the factory director's daughter. He thought for a moment, then said calmly, if she's meant to be a Jiang family bride, a little hardship won't scare her off. If this is enough to break the engagement, then she was never the right one. Yunzhou backed him up right away. My brother's right. If she's the type to look down on us when we're struggling, we don't need her. Dinner that night was 8 dishes and a soup, a feast by anyone else's standards, but normal for the Jiang family. Nobody tasted a thing. Everyone was lost in thought. Yunzhou especially, now that grandfather had actually agreed to let him join the army. The weight of it hit him hard. Grandfather had told him everything, laid out his expectations. This wasn't about playing soldier for a few years anymore. The family needed him to rise through the ranks and bring the Jiang name real power. The pressure was enormous, but he'd made his promise, and he wouldn't break it. While I was out during the day, the family had packed up their most valuable belongings, jewelry, heirlooms, irreplaceable treasures. They started with 2 or 3 boxes, but ended up filling 6 massive chests, and those were just the most precious items. Clothes and daily necessities didn't even make the cut. Grandfather had been worried about how I'd move the basement collection, hundreds of items, an impossible amount to transport secretly. But when he snuck down to check that afternoon, everything was already gone. The room was completely empty. He was shocked but also relieved. He didn't bother checking the ancestral hall vault after that. He trusted me. After dark, I went to the ancestral hall. The spirit tablets on the altar had been removed. In their place sat several enormous boxes, each about a meter tall. I opened one. The ancestral tablets were packed neatly inside. I thought of my past life, when soldiers stormed in and stomped those tablets into the ground while my grandfather coughed up blood watching it happen. For the old man, the ancestral hall was the soul of the Jiang family. Losing it nearly killed him. Not this time. I swept all the boxes into my space, then went to wake up Yunzhou. He'd just finished washing up and was about to go to bed when I dragged him out. He stared at me as I grabbed a shovel and the car keys. Sis, what are we doing? I unlocked grandfather's car, the only privately owned automobile in all of Rong City, an antique that grandfather had spent a fortune in bribes just to keep. I climbed in and started the engine.
Yunzhou's jaw dropped. Cease.
When did you learn to drive? He was only a year younger than me, and he couldn't even drive yet. Hold on tight. I hit the gas, and the car shot forward. Back at the Lin house, the old lady and Feng Jiaojiao hadn't even cleaned up the mess I made that morning. They left everything on the floor all day, just so Lin Yaohua could see it when he got home. They were also too lazy to cook, so the whole lot of them went hungry. Lin Yaohua finally stumbled in after dark, face swollen, bruises everywhere. Uncle Guan's men had caught him on his way home and beat him senseless inside a sack, just like I asked. He had no idea who did it. He told his family he must have been attacked by someone jealous of his position at the factory. The old lady wailed over him. Feng Jiaojiao fussed and helped him to the sofa. Lin Kaiwei was so worried she accidentally called him Dad instead of brother, and he snapped at her to watch her mouth. Even battered and bruised, he was terrified of blowing their cover. Lin Kaiwei, always scheming, suggested they send me to the countryside. Sister Cece doesn't have a job anyway. She qualifies for the program. A few years of hard labor would fix her attitude. The old lady loved the idea. Lin Yaohua considered it. Getting rid of me would make it easier to control my mother. But he told them to wait. He had bigger plans first. What none of them knew was that he hadn't gone to the factory today at all. He'd been meeting people to prepare for tomorrow night. He was planning to dig up the Jiang family cemetery and steal the treasure buried there. He thought his scheme was flawless. He'd take the treasure before the raid, and when the authorities found nothing in the tombs, they'd assume the Jiang family had moved it themselves. Too bad for him. I was already one step ahead. That same night, I drove to the Jiang family cemetery with Yunzhou. The moment I parked outside the graveyard, my cousin started falling apart. His face went white, his back went cold.
Cease.
It's the middle of the night. Who comes to a cemetery at this hour? Can we please leave? It's creepy. An owl hooted somewhere in the trees. Birds rustled in the dark. Yunzhou looked like he was about to faint. I opened the trunk, pulled out 2 shovels, and handed him one. The scariest things in this world aren't ghosts, they're people. Now get out of the car and start working. I turned off the headlights and walked into the cemetery with just a flashlight. Yunzhou scrambled after me, terrified of being left alone in the dark. When he realized what we were actually doing, digging into the ancestral tomb, he threw his shovel on the ground. Are you insane? Grandpa will skin me alive. Do you even know what you're doing right now? Grandpa told me to do this. Now pick up the shovel. His eyes went wide.
Wait.
Is there treasure down there? I just looked at him. Less talking, more digging. He shut up and started shoveling. The boy had never done manual labor in his life. After an hour, his hands were covered in blisters. I brought over a military canteen filled with water from my spirit spring and poured some over his hands, then let him drink. His eyes went round. Sis, what is this water? My hands don't hurt anymore. My whole body feels better. It's ginseng water. I lied. Now keep going. After another half hour, we hit the tomb door. I felt around for the mechanism and pushed the stone door open, barely a meter high, so I had to crouch to get inside. Yunzhou refused to follow me in, so I went alone. The burial chamber had a single room. A coffin sat in the center, surrounded by tall wooden chests and piles of bronze and porcelain artifacts. I knelt and bowed my head to the ancestors. Then I swept everything into my space. I also took the coffin into my space. There were burial treasures inside it, and if I left it behind, Lin Yaohua and those people would crack it open without hesitation. I wouldn't let them disturb my ancestors. Once they finished searching and moved on, I'd bring the coffin back and rebury it properly. When I came out of the tomb, I used soil from my space to fill the entire chamber, then Yunzhou and I shoveled dirt back over it, hiding every trace of our digging. Yunzhou noticed I came out empty-handed, but was smart enough not to ask questions. By the time we got back to the Jiang estate, the sky was already turning light. Yunzhou collapsed into bed the second we arrived. I washed up and went to my room. I'd always had my own room at grandfather's house. My mother's childhood room was still kept for her too. That was the kind of family the Jiangs were. The next morning, Yunting left early to register for his countryside papers. Grandfather hadn't slept well. He'd heard me take the car out during the night, but didn't ask about it. I could tell he was looking at me differently now. He said nothing, but I could see it in his eyes. He knew I wasn't the same girl anymore. The old Lin, she had bright, innocent eyes with no trace of cunning. Now my eyes carried things he couldn't read. My mother hadn't slept either. The betrayal was eating her alive. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Lin Yaohua and Feng Jiaojiao together. All those looks, all those small moments she dismissed as sibling affection. She felt like a fool. I told her to stay at grandfather's house while I went back to the Lin home to pack our things. She wanted to come with me, worried Lin Yaohua would hurt me. Mom, I'm not the old Lin Shi anymore. Nobody's going to bully me. I'm just going to collect our belongings. We're leaving for the countryside in a couple days. I won't let those people keep a single thing that belongs to us. Grandmother backed me up. Listen to Cece.
Stay here.
If anyone touches her, your nephew and brother will deal with it. So I went alone. At the Lin house, things were exactly the mess I expected. Nobody had cooked since my mother left. They'd all gone hungry because Feng Jiaojiao's cooking was terrible. Everything thrown in one pot with no seasoning, like she was making pig slop. After years of eating my mother's carefully prepared meals, even Lin Yaohua couldn't stomach it. My mother had known how to cook before marrying him. She'd learned everything from the family's housekeeper and became excellent at it. The old lady praised her cooking just enough to keep her chained to the kitchen for over a decade. Lin Yaohua had hoped for a decent breakfast, but Feng Jiaojiao was still in bed sulking because he'd rejected her advances the night before. He asked Lin Kaiwei to cook instead, but the 17-year-old had never touched a stove in her life. Feng Jiaojiao had told her she was too young to learn. Funny, I was 18 and had been expected to do everything. When I walked through the door, Lin Kaiwei's face dropped. "What are you doing here?" I shoved past her. "This is my house. What do you think?" Lin Yaohua saw me and put on his loving father act. "Cici, where's your mother? Why didn't she come back?" "Mom's staying at grandfather's for Qingming Festival. She'll be back the day after tomorrow." "Oh, and I should mention, I've signed up to go to the countryside. Mom didn't want me going alone, so she registered too. We're leaving in a few days. I'm here to pack." I said it loud and clear on purpose. I wanted everyone to know we were volunteering to go to the countryside before the Jiang family got raided, before Lin Yaohua's scheme played out. If people knew we left by choice, we wouldn't be labeled as criminals being sent to labor reform when the Lin family went down. Lin Yaohua looked surprised but pleased. He probably thought this saved him the trouble. He put on his fatherly voice. "Well, you don't have a job right now, so you'd probably be sent anyway. The countryside will be good for you, toughen you up. When you want to come back in a few years, I'll arrange the paperwork." What a performance. He'd spent money buying jobs for his 2 bastard children so they wouldn't have to go, but his own daughter? He was happy to let me rot in some village. That was Lin Yaohua, always had been. I didn't bother with Lin Yaohua. I just glanced at him and walked upstairs. The old lady came out and started ranting about how I was out of control and needed to be sent to the countryside for reform. Feng Jiaojiao dragged her to the kitchen to help make breakfast because she still couldn't cook after all these years. The old lady scolded her. "You can't even make breakfast? How will you take care of a household?" Feng Jiaojiao just smiled and blamed the old lady for spoiling her. In the end, the old woman sighed and made breakfast herself. I packed up everything in my room and my mother's room. Every piece of clothing, every piece of jewelry, every personal item. All of it went into my space. My clothes weren't cheap department store stuff. They were real silk, chiffon, handmade lace, most of it brought back from Hong Kong by my uncle. My mother's things were just as valuable. I wasn't leaving a single thread for those parasites. I deliberately left Lin Yaohua's belongings untouched. Not because I didn't want them, I needed those things to stay right where they were. His property would be evidence when the time came to put a label on him. That 2-story Western-style house alone was enough to brand him a capitalist. He wanted to send me to the countryside? Fine. He'd be joining me soon enough. I finished packing quickly. Before leaving the city, I wanted to see Uncle Guan one last time. Lin Yaohua left the house early too, face still swollen from the beating. He was racing to dig up the Jiang family cemetery before the raid. He had no idea the tombs were already empty. I changed into a simple outfit, vintage-style trousers, a white shirt, black ankle boots, hair pulled into a side ponytail. I looked sharp, clean, nothing flashy. Then I rode my bicycle to Uncle Guan's place. He'd recently lost his mansion. The government had seized it, so now he was living in a hidden underground space beneath a remote alley. Multiple exits for quick escapes. His men were all there with him. Qiao Si almost didn't recognize me at the entrance. He'd only seen me as a little girl trailing behind my grandfather. Now, I was a grown woman walking in like I owned the place. Uncle Guan. The moment I saw him, my throat tightened. I almost broke down. In my past life, this man was executed. I watched them take him away, and I never recovered. But here he was alive, strong, only in his 40s. Nearly 6'3", close to 200 pounds of solid muscle. Tattoos snaking out from under his short sleeves. A crew cut, stubble on his jaw, eyes that could freeze a room. Even when he tried to seem gentle, you could feel the danger radiating off him. That was why my mother was always afraid of him. But to me, He was the closest thing to a real father I ever had. I'm leaving for the countryside tomorrow. I don't know when I'll see you again, so I wanted to come say goodbye. I handed him several large bottles of spirit spring water I'd prepared. Drink all of this. Promise me. He took them, looking at me with warm eyes, something most people never got to see from him. I'll drink every drop. Your mother. She must be terrified. Your grandfather raised her like a princess. The countryside is going to be hard for both of you. Are you sure you won't stay? Nobody would dare touch you while I'm here. I shook my head. Staying in Rome City isn't safe either. The countryside may be rough, but at least there's less scheming. We'll lie low for a few years, then come back when the policies change. Uncle Guan, you need to be careful too. The world is different now. You can't solve everything with force anymore. Stay alive. When I come back, I'll take care of you in your old age. He burst out laughing, a deep, genuine laugh.
Ah.
All right then, it's a deal. You'll give me a proper retirement. I'll wait for you right here. Take care of your mother and your grandparents. And if you ever need anything, write to me. I'll find a way to send it. I will. Speaking of which, are the supplies ready? He nodded. Everything's at the warehouse, just like you asked. Go pick it up whenever you want. Then he opened a drawer and pulled out a small handgun, barely bigger than his palm. I took it and turned it over my hands. A Type 64? Nice, small, quiet, perfect for self-defense. Uncle Guan was surprised I knew about guns, but he didn't say much. He just gave me extra ammunition and told me to be careful, don't let anyone find it, don't hurt myself. The way he looked at me was soft, almost fatherly. I noticed something in his eyes this time, like he was seeing someone else when he looked at me. I had a feeling I knew who, but I wasn't ready to think about that yet. We talked for a while longer, then I left. He wanted to come with me to the warehouse, but I told him no. As I walked away, I could feel his gaze on my back. I wondered if he was thinking about my mother, the beautiful girl who once looked like a fairy in the sunlight, the one who was always too afraid of him to look him in the eye, the one who chose the gentle, bookish Lin Yaohua instead of him. He'd watched her marry another man, and then spent the rest of his life quietly protecting her family from the shadows. Xiao Si saw the water bottles I'd given Uncle Guan and thought I was being cheap with my gift. You're really going to drink plain water, boss? Uncle Guan took a sip, then his whole expression changed. I knew he'd figured out. That spirit spring water wasn't ordinary. It tasted sweet and clean, and after one mouthful your whole body felt refreshed, like you'd taken some kind of miracle tonic. He immediately locked the bottles in his bedside cabinet, the same one where he kept his life savings. Xiao Si was baffled, but Uncle Guan wasn't explaining anything to anyone. I reached the warehouse around 11. It was in a remote area, completely deserted. I pushed open the rusted iron doors and stepped inside. Sunlight poured through holes in the broken roof, illuminating a floor covered with supplies. Uncle Guan had outdone himself. Everything I'd asked for was there, and more. Rice, flour, oil, grain stacked high. Live chickens, ducks, and geese in cages, both young chicks and fully grown ones. 3 spotted piglets. Tall wooden crates packed with food, all kinds of snacks, imported biscuits, piles of white rabbit milk candy, and at the very bottom, 6 cans of imported milk powder. That stuff was nearly impossible to get even with ration tickets. He'd also thought of things I hadn't mentioned: bedding, quality sheets, tools, and supplies you'd need in a village. The man was more thoughtful than anyone gave him credit for. I released the live animals into my space first, then swept everything else in after them. With all of this, we could live comfortably even in the poorest mountain village. Once survival was secured, I could focus on what really mattered, making every last one of my enemies pay. When I got back to the Jiang estate, only my grandparents and my mother were home. Everyone else was out handling their own affairs. Aunt Shuqin had gone to visit her parents one last time. Tomorrow, the family would leave for the countryside. The 2 servants had already been let go. Anything valuable that could be moved was already in my space. But the things that couldn't be taken, the house itself, the furniture, the old walls that held generations of memories, those weighed on my grandfather's heart like stones. I found him in the main hall, running his fingers along a set of Wangwali wood furniture, his eyes red and glistening. This man who had carried the entire Jiang family on his back without ever bending, he looked small now. Fragile. Just an old man about to lose his home. This house has sheltered 3 generations, he said quietly. I always thought it would pass down forever. I never imagined it would be lost on my watch. My heart ached. Grandpa, as long as the house stays standing, we can come back. In a few years, when the policies change, we'll buy it back. I promise. That seemed to ease his pain a little. He nodded slowly.
Yes.
If there's a chance, we must buy it back. Then his face grew thoughtful. Tomorrow is Qingming. It's a shame we won't be able to visit the ancestors. He paused, then looked at me carefully. Cece, about the cemetery treasure, you said you'd move it. But those things are inside the burial chambers. Does that mean you had to? He trailed off, not wanting to say, dig up the graves out loud. Grandfather looked at me with a strange expression. The cemetery has been taken care of. Yes, everything's been moved. You had to dig it open. Yes, you did it yourself. I rubbed my nose. I brought Yunzhou along to help. Grandfather's face fell. What kind of grandchildren dig up their own ancestors' graves? He wanted to scold me, but then he realized. Who else could he trust with something like that? And if Lin Yaohua had gotten there first, that would have been 100 times worse. Besides, the ancestors buried those treasures specifically as a safety net for future generations. They always knew someone would dig them up eventually. What about the burial treasures inside the coffin? Lin Yaohua won't go after those too, will he? I hesitated. I'd actually taken the coffin too, but I wasn't sure grandfather could handle that news. So, I reassured him instead. Don't worry. Lin Yaohua was planning to move after the raid, probably tomorrow night or the day after. But by then, his whole family will already be shipped off for labor reform. He won't get the chance. That calmed him down. Just then, Yunzhou stumbled out looking half dead, yawning and stretching. Sis, we were up all night. How are you not tired? He flopped onto the sofa, then almost said something about last night before catching my glare. He shut his mouth instantly and wandered off to the kitchen. Poor kid had been having nightmares all night, dreaming that our ancestor's ghost was just standing there, staring at him silently. I ate lunch, then went to my room to rest. I needed my energy for tonight. After dark, I dressed in all black and slipped out. Tonight's target, the Zhu family. Zhu Jiwen had been our family's rival for generations. He was a slippery old fox who'd spent half his fortune buying himself a position as deputy director of the Revolutionary Committee after the country was founded. His son Zhu Tao was the captain of the local Red Guard unit. Together with Lin Yaohua, they were the ones plotting to destroy my grandfather's family. But I knew Zhu Jiwen's secret. Despite his humble, patriotic act, he'd been hoarding a massive fortune, bribes, old family wealth, all of it buried in the backyard of his abandoned ancestral home. The place looked like a crumbling ruin. Nobody would ever suspect it held anything of value. In my past life, Uncle Guan eventually uncovered Zhu's crimes and found the buried treasure, but not until years later, years during which Zhu used that money to buy connections with powerful officials from the capital. This time, I'd take everything before he could spend a single coin. I crept into the abandoned courtyard, pulled a shovel from my space, and started digging near the flower bed along the wall. It was hard work, and soon I was dripping with sweat. But the treasure wasn't buried deep. The first thing I hit was a heavy bundle wrapped in cowhide. I opened it and found stacks of silver yuan coins. Into the space. I kept digging. Next came a wooden box. I cracked it open under the moonlight. Gold bars. Small ones, dozens of them gleaming in the dark. My blood pumped faster. I dug harder. This was different from grandfather's treasure. Everything from the Jiang family would be returned to grandfather. But this, every last piece pulled from Zhu Jiwen's dirt, was mine. 2 hours later, I was gasping for breath but grinning ear to ear. I'd pulled out several boxes of gold bars, over 10,000 silver yuan coins, and more than 1,000 ten-tael silver ingots. The Zhu family was shockingly rich. This haul was nearly as valuable as what was in the Jiang family tomb. With this fortune alone, I could live comfortably for several lifetimes without working a single day. I filled the holes back in, smoothed out the dirt, and carefully covered my tracks. Let old man Zhu play his patriotic hero act a little longer. When he finally checked his stash and found nothing but empty dirt, I wanted to be far, far away, smiling. I went straight back to the Jiang estate and slept. Tomorrow was Qingming, April 5th, the day everything would begin. The rain came in the middle of the night, soft and steady, like the sky itself was mourning. It didn't stop until dawn. The whole family was up early, tense, waiting. The storm was coming. "Uncle, are you sure the government people will come first thing this morning?" I asked Zhiyuan. I was worried that if they were late, Zhu Tao's Red Guard squad might show up and force their way in before the donation could be finalized. He nodded, his face grave. I told them to come at dawn to inspect and accept the donation. They shouldn't be late. I'd barely let out a sigh of relief when the pounding started at the gate. Loud, aggressive, demanding. "Open up." "Open the door." Yunting went to answer. The moment the gate cracked open, he was shoved aside. 20 or 30 young men with red armbands rushed in, carrying wooden clubs. Their leader was Zhu Tao, Zhu Jiwen's son. He was older than Yunting, dark-skinned and stocky, with the swagger of a man who believed he was untouchable. He sneered at Yunting. "We're here to investigate the Jiang family. You're capitalists. And we have reason to believe Jiang Zhiyuan has been making secret trips to Hong Kong and High City, suspected connections with enemy agents. He needs to come with us for questioning." Yunting was furious. "You lying snake. You're trying to frame us." Zhu Tao didn't even bother arguing. He just pushed past and led his men inside. But when he reached the main hall, he stopped. The entire Jiang family was standing there, lined up, waiting for him. We'd been ready since dawn. That surprised him. He'd expected to catch us off guard. He looked at my grandfather with fake courtesy. "Old Master Jiang, it's been a while. You're looking well." Grandfather didn't flinch. "Thanks to your family's constant meddling, I'm doing just fine. I'd be doing even better if I never had to see a Zhu again." Zhu Tao laughed. "After today, you won't have to worry about that." I couldn't hold back. "What, is the Zhu family going to die off? Then I suppose you're right. We really won't be seeing you." His eyes found me. He looked me up and down slowly, and I felt my skin crawl. "Jiang Xian's daughter, right? Pretty little thing." Uncle Zhiyuan and Yunzhou immediately stepped in front of me, blocking his gaze. Zhu Tao dropped the act and declared he was there to search the estate. Uncle Zhiyuan stepped forward and pulled out the papers, the official donation documents with the government's red seal. "You're too late, Zhu Tao. The Jiang family has donated everything. Every property, every asset, surrendered to the state. The officials are on their way right now to take possession. You can't touch a thing. We'd rather give it all to the country than let your family steal a single coin." Zhu Tao's face went blank. He grabbed the documents and stared at them, unable to believe what he was reading. Then his expression twisted into something ugly. "You think a forged document is going to stop me? Until I receive new orders, I'm searching this place. Get in there, tear it apart." His men charged in with their clubs. Grandfather clutched his chest in rage, pointing a trembling finger at Zhu Tao. "You'll pay for this. Your family will come to ruin." Zhu Tao just laughed. "Maybe so, old man, but you won't be around to see it. Check the ancestral hall. Dig up the floors if you have to. I want every last thing the Jiang family owns." Uncle Zhiyuan and Yunting wanted to fight back, but I stopped them. "Let them search. Everything valuable is already gone. Don't give them an excuse to hurt you. In my last life, my family fought back physically and got beaten badly for it. I wouldn't make that mistake again." One by one, the reports came back to Zhu Tao. "Captain, the rooms are empty, nothing valuable. Captain, the basement is completely cleaned out. Captain, the ancestral hall has nothing." His face darkened with every report. But he convinced himself we must have buried everything underground. They heard we were coming and hid it all below. "Dig up the ancestral hall floor. Rip up every stone, I know it's down there." He was partly right. There had been a secret vault under the hall. But I'd already emptied it days ago. His men grabbed pickaxes and shovels and started tearing up the beautiful stone floor, ripping apart the flower beds, destroying everything they could reach. They were still digging when a man in a dark blue cadre suit walked through the open gate. It was Qi Jiangwo, the deputy director of the Provincial Revolutionary Committee. Uncle Zhiyuan had arranged for him to come accept the donation. What exactly is going on here? Qi's voice boomed across the courtyard. Uncle Zhiyuan rushed to greet him. Director Qi, thank goodness you're here. A few more minutes, and they would have torn our entire house apart. Please, you must intervene, Qi shouted a single command. Everyone stop, Zhu Tao froze. He stared at the newcomer for a long moment before recognizing who it was, a provincial-level official who far outranked his father. The color drained from his face. Zhu Tao's confidence crumbled the moment he recognized Deputy Director Qi Zhengwo. His own father was just a city-level deputy. This man was provincial, world apart. Still, Zhu Tao put on his best bootlicking smile and tried to play it cool. Director Qi, what brings you here personally? Clearing out the Jiang family is such a small matter, surely not worth your time. Qi didn't even look at him. He stared at the destroyed courtyard. Holes everywhere, stone tiles torn up, flower beds gutted, and his face went dark. What is the meaning of this? Why are you digging up their property? Zhu Tao launched into his speech about how the Jiang family was on the raid list, how we'd hidden our wealth underground, how he was just doing his duty. He sounded so sure of himself, like he was about to unearth a mountain of gold. Director Qi cut him off with a glare. The Jiang family has already donated everything voluntarily. There's nothing left to seize. Their political awareness is exemplary. They've surrendered all assets and volunteered to go to the countryside. I came here personally to deliver a commendation letter from senior leadership and handle the property transfer. Zhu Tao panicked. He started arguing that we'd faked the donation, that we'd emptied the house and hidden everything in a secret chamber beneath the ancestral hall. He was actually half right about the vault existing, but he had no idea it was already empty. Then Uncle Zhiyuan stepped forward and pulled out a thick stack of papers, decades worth of donation receipts. Every war, every famine, every national disaster. The Jiang family had given money and grain. The Revolutionary War, the Anti-Japanese War, the Liberation War, border conflicts, natural disasters. Page after page of proof that our family had bled for this country for generations. We gave everything we had for this nation, Uncle Zhiyuan said, his voice steady and powerful. And now we're being called capitalists, being hunted down by men like him? Director Qi, if you'd arrived 5 minutes later, there would have been blood today. I could see Director Qi was moved. Those receipts were real, and they told a powerful story. Zhu Tao tried to interrupt, claiming Uncle Zhiyuan was lying to protect hidden treasure. That's when I stepped in. You keep saying there's treasure buried under our ancestral hall. Have you seen it with your own eyes? Director Qi is right here. Let's settle this. If there really is treasure down there, and we didn't donate it, the Jiang family will accept any punishment. We'll go to a labor farm, endure public criticism sessions, whatever you want. But if there's nothing, then the Zhu family donates all their assets, and your whole family goes to the countryside with us. As long as we're out there, you don't come back to the city. Deal. Zhu Tao's face twisted with rage. Who do you think you are? Why should I bet with you? I turned to Director Qi with tears in my eyes. Well, the appearance of tears. Director Qi, today was supposed to be a proud day for our family. We gave up everything willingly. But instead we're being humiliated and accused of hiding wealth. If you don't help us clear our name, we can't bear this shame. Grandfather stepped forward, leaning on his cane, voice trembling with emotion. This was supposed to honor our ancestors, and instead we're branded as enemies of the people. If I can't clear this stain today, I'd rather smash my head against that pillar and die right here. He threw down his cane and lurched toward the hall's stone column. Uncle Zhiyuan and Yunting grabbed him just in time. Director Qi went pale. Old sir, please, let's talk this through. I promise I will resolve this. Then he turned to Zhu Tao, his face like thunder. Since you're so certain there's treasure underground, I'll hold you to the girls' terms. If they dig and find nothing, I will personally order the seizure of the Zhu family's assets and send your entire family to the countryside. You don't come back until the Jiang family does. Zhu Tao broke into a cold sweat. But deep down, he was still confident. He knew about the secret vault. He was sure the treasure was there. He figured we were bluffing because we thought he didn't know. He stuck out his chin defiantly.
Fine.
And if we find something, the Jiang family gets no mercy. Zhu Tao ordered his men to keep digging, but I wasn't about to stand around watching them chip away at stone all day. Stop wasting time. If you want to know what's down there, I'll take you myself. Everyone stared at me. My family's hearts were pounding. They knew the vault had been full of treasure, but they trusted that I'd already moved everything. Still, they wouldn't fully relax until someone went down and confirmed it. I walked to the altar where the spirit tablets used to sit. Now just empty bases. I pressed the hidden switch, and the wall slid open. Zhu Tao followed me down eagerly, along with 2 of Director Qi's men. 10 minutes later, we all came back up. Zhu Tao's face was white. The vault was completely empty, just a dusty, abandoned room. This is impossible. The Jiang family had generations of wealth. It can't just be gone. You moved it. You must have hidden it somewhere else. I slowed my steps until I was close enough to whisper in his ear. My father planned all of this. This whole thing was a trap he set to bring down the Zhu family. Surprised? I walked away before he could respond. Behind me, I heard him grinding his teeth. Lin Yahua. I'd planted the seed perfectly. Now Zhu Tao believed Lin Yahua had been playing them from the start, using the Zhu family as pawns to destroy the Jiang family while secretly keeping all the treasure for himself. The hatred between them would do my work for me. Director Qi's men confirmed the vault was empty. Qi turned to Zhu Tao with ice in his voice. Nothing down there. So start packing, your family is going to the countryside. After I finish the handover here, I'm coming to your house next. Zhu Tao stammered something about needing to inform his family, then scrambled out with his men like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Director Qi completed the paperwork with Uncle Zhiyuan, deeds, property contracts, everything officially transferred to the state. He gave us 1 extra day to leave, saying we could go tomorrow. We could take clothes and daily necessities, but nothing valuable. Meanwhile, Lin Yahua was having the worst morning of his life. He'd spent the entire previous night at the Jiang cemetery, digging into the ancestral tomb, only to find absolutely nothing. No treasure, no burial goods, not even a coffin. He dug for hours and came up empty-handed, then had to fill it all back in. He dragged himself home at dawn, exhausted and furious. He barely got his eyes closed before the pounding started at his own door. Red armbands. A whole squad of them crashed through the gate. The old lady opened the door and got shoved to the ground. Feng Jiao and the siblings came running out in a panic. Lin Kaiwei rushed to wake Lin Yahua. The squad leader announced it loud and clear. Lin Yahua was being charged with embezzlement and abuse of power. He'd been fired from the food factory. All family assets were seized. The house was being confiscated. Lin Yahua was to be taken to the Red Guard station immediately. They dragged him out while he screamed that he was innocent. The rest of the family was thrown out of the house with nothing but a few changes of clothes. The doors were sealed behind them. The old lady sat on the ground in shock. Lin Kaiwei wailed about her jewelry and hidden cash still inside. Lin Rui dug through his pockets and found about 30 yuan, a month's salary for a normal worker, but pocket change to him. Feng Jiao started crying about how unfair her life was. Then, the old lady had an idea. Let's go to the Jiang house. Faizi Ang Xin. Her family has connections. They can save Yahua. Feng Jiao's eyes lit up instantly.
Yes.
She won't just stand by and watch her husband get taken away. So the whole bunch of them, the old lady, Feng Jiao, Lin Rui, and Lin Kaiwei, marched toward the Jiang estate, still believing my mother would rescue the man who'd been plotting to destroy her entire family. The walk took about 20 minutes. The Jiang estate had barely settled down from the morning's chaos when Lin Yahua's family showed up at our gate. Uncle Zhiyuan opened the door, and his face went cold the moment he saw the old lady, Feng Jiao, and those 2 brats standing there. What do you want? The old lady plastered on a fake smile. Oh, it's Cece's uncle. We're looking for Jiang Xian. My son Yahua has been arrested. The Red Guards took him away and sealed our house. We didn't know what to do, so we came here for help. Uncle Zhiyuan didn't blink. We can't help. Our whole family has volunteered to go to the countryside. We leave tomorrow morning. As for Lin Yaohua, that's your problem. The old lady's jaw dropped. You're giving up everything? Going to the countryside? Are you people insane? Uncle Zhi Yuan started closing the gate, but Feng Jiaojiao jammed her hand in the gap.
Wait.
Jiang Xin is a Lin family wife. She can't just abandon her husband. Let her come out. We need to talk to her face to face. I'd been inside preparing food for tomorrow's train ride when I heard the commotion. I walked to the gate and looked at their pathetic little group, homeless, penniless, desperate. I felt nothing. What are you doing here? We're leaving for the countryside tomorrow. Unless you've come to give us some money and ration tickets. The old lady grabbed at me.
Cece.
Your father's been arrested. Go get your mother to pull some strings and get him released. I put on my best shocked face, covering my mouth. Arrested? For what? They said embezzlement. They took him and sealed the house. Please help us. Oh, Grandma, it's not that we don't want to help. It's that we can't. My grandfather's family is in trouble too.
We're powerless right now.
But don't worry, embezzlement won't get him executed. At worst, a few years in prison. More likely, he'll just be sent to the countryside for labor reform. Actually, Auntie Feng, you should start planning ahead. Life after being sent down is very hard. But here's the thing, you're technically a married-out daughter of the Lin family. You could take your 2 children and leave right now. Cut ties before you get dragged down with them. Of course, that would leave poor Grandma and Dad all alone in some miserable village with nobody to help them work the fields or take care of them. But I'm sure once my grandfather's family gets a chance to return to the city, we'll find a way to bring you all back too. I watched the gears turn in their heads. The old lady looked at Feng Jiaojiao nervously. Would she abandon them? Feng Jiaojiao hesitated, but she was too greedy to walk away. She was still dreaming of the good life with Lin Yaohua. She figured the Jiang family must have hidden resources, and once things blew over, she'd be living in luxury again. The bait I'd dangled was exactly fat enough to hook her. Mom, don't worry. The children and I will never leave you and Yaohua. We'll stick together no matter what, even if it means going to the countryside. Perfect. That was exactly what I wanted to hear. My biggest fear had been Feng Jiaojiao running off with her kids and escaping punishment. But her greed kept her anchored. Auntie is so loyal. Then I'll leave Grandma in your care. I'll ask my grandfather to pull some strings so that if you're sent down, maybe you can be sent to the same village as us. That way we can look out for each other. Anyway, we're very busy. Got to go. I slammed the gate shut in their faces. Outside, the old lady cursed me for not offering them money or a place to sleep. Feng Jiaojiao calmed her down. They still needed us to help free Lin Yaohua, so burning bridges wasn't smart. Lin Rui had about 30 yuan left, so they went to a guest house. And then they burned through their money like fools. For separate rooms at 1 yuan each, the most expensive ones. A fancy dinner at the state restaurant for 3 more yuan. Lin Kaiwei bought toiletries. In one night, their 30 yuan shrank to just over 20. They'd lived in luxury for so long they didn't know how to be poor. The Zhu family wasn't doing any better. Zhu Tao went home and got slapped across the face by his father for ruining everything. Zhu Jiwen's daughter, 18-year-old Zhu Qian, was begging to be sent to her grandparents' house instead. His 11-year-old son Zhu Yang, barely 5'3" but weighing over 160 pounds, was crying about how there'd be no meat in the countryside. The kid was so fat his eyes were just slits in his face. While everyone else scrambled to hide cash and valuables on their bodies, little Zhu Yang sat in the living room stuffing his pockets with white rabbit candy. Zhu Jiwen was sharp enough to know there was no fighting this. He told everyone to grab whatever money and ration tickets they could carry. He wasn't worried about losing the house or the visible assets. Those were small compared to what he'd buried at the old estate. His real fortune was underground, safe and waiting. Or so he thought. The Zhu family scrambled to hide whatever they could before the officials came. Wu Guilin rolled up all her cash and ration tickets and strapped them around her waist under her clothes, keeping her jewelry in her suitcase. Zhu Qian stuffed money into her inner pockets and long socks. Zhu Tao tried to hide his gold bars on his body but couldn't make it work, so he threw them in his luggage, hoping they wouldn't check. They did check. When the provincial officials came and sealed the Zhu house, They opened every suitcase. Zhu Tao's gold bars, over a dozen small ones, were confiscated on the spot. At least they didn't search anyone's body. The whole family was kicked out with sealed doors behind them. Zhu Jiwen stood there grinding his teeth, blaming everything on Lin Yaohua and the Jiang family. He swore he'd get his revenge once they returned to the city. He still thought his real fortune was safe underground at the old estate. He had no idea I'd already dug every last coin out of that dirt. The next morning, we took our luggage to the train station. And city was over 1,000 kilometers south of Rome City, at least 40 hours by train with transfers. Volunteers like us had to travel on our own. People being sent for labor reform would be escorted later, which meant Lin Yaohua's group would arrive days after us. Yunzhou had already reported to the military recruitment center that morning, so he wasn't there to see us off. Grandfather and grandmother stood on the platform looking at the bustling station, lost in memories. It had been years since they'd ridden a train. Uncle Zhiyuan and Aunt Shuqin kept looking back toward the city, their faces heavy with sadness. Yunting was quiet, jaw clenched. He blamed himself for not being strong enough to protect the family from this fate. Little Yunwan and I were the only ones who seemed at peace. As long as the family was together, it didn't matter where we went. Just before boarding, I spotted a familiar figure in the crowd. I tugged my mother's sleeve. "Mom, look, Uncle Guan came to see us off." She followed my gaze and saw him standing at a distance. She wasn't afraid of him anymore. She understood now. Behind that terrifying exterior was a man who'd always cared. She remembered what he'd told her before her wedding. "If that boy ever treats you badly, tell me. I'll deal with him. And remember, you're the Jiang family's eldest daughter. Behind you stands not just the Jiang family but me, Guan Biao. Don't be afraid. Walk forward boldly. If the sky falls, I'll hold it up for you." She'd never once gone to him for help. But knowing he was there had given her courage she didn't even realize she had. Uncle Guan waved and had someone deliver a big bag of food for our journey. But he stayed back. He couldn't be seen with us. Grandfather noticed him too and gestured for him to leave. My mother waved. I didn't dare draw attention, so I just looked at him one last time and turned away. I'd only managed to get 6 sleeper tickets. 2 of us would have to ride in hard seats for the full 40-plus hours. I planned to take one of those seats myself. Yunting immediately volunteered. "Cece, you take the sleeper." "Dad, and I will do hard seats." I shook my head. "Uncle, you stay here and watch over everyone. Yunting and I are young. We can handle it." Aunt Shuqin tried to argue, but I cut her off. "Keep your belongings close. Don't sleep too deeply at night. Trains are full of pickpockets. And watch Yunwan carefully. There are child traffickers on these routes. Don't let her wander alone." I grabbed Yunting's arm and pulled him toward the hard seat car before anyone could argue further. When we got to my assigned seat, some girl with braided pigtails was sitting in it. I told her politely, "Comrade, you're in my seat." She looked me up and down, her face twisting with jealousy the moment she saw me. "Can we trade? My seat is the window one over there. I'll even give you 10 cents for the trouble." I glanced at her window seat, right next to some middle-aged man. My seat was on the aisle. She wanted me to sit squeezed against a stranger for 40 hours. "No. What's your problem?"
I'm asking nicely.
"It's just a seat. What's the big deal?" "Here, 10 cents. She held out the coin like it was a fortune. I almost laughed. "Are you deaf or just stupid?" I said no. "Now get back to your own seat." She turned red, stood up, and slunk back to her friends, who patted her on the back and told her to let it go. Yunting and I ended up with seats across the aisle from each other, both on the aisle side. A girl sitting across from him turned bright red the moment he sat down. Couldn't stop staring at his face. My cousin was handsome. I'd give him that. The train was stopped at Rome City Station for about 20 minutes, so a lot of passengers had stepped out to stretch their legs. Most of the seats around me were empty. I pulled out a little sketchbook and a pencil from my bag and started designing clothes to pass the time. I was already thinking about what I'd need in the countryside, something practical, not the silk and lace pieces filling my space. Those would draw away too much attention in a poor village. I'd barely picked up my pencil when a group of people walked past, and someone bumped my hand. knocking it to the floor. I bent down to grab it at the same time as someone else, and our foreheads slammed together with a loud thud. Ow, I sucked in a sharp breath, my eyes instantly watering from the pain. Are you all right? I looked up through blurry, teary eyes and saw a man in a white shirt and military trousers holding my pencil. He stared at me for a moment, at my skin, already bruising purple where we'd collided. The soldier who'd actually knocked my pencil, a guy named Zhao Jianjun, rushed back to apologize. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Are you both okay? Yunting was at my side in seconds, checking my forehead. Cece, are you hurt? It's already turning purple. That must really sting. I'll go find some medicine. I caught his arm.
I'm fine.
It's nothing. It'll go down by the time we get off the train. The soldiers sat down in the seats around me. Every spot filled up except the one right next to me. Then the man who'd bumped my head came back, carrying 5 boiled eggs. He sat down beside me, peeled one in silence with long, elegant fingers, and handed it over. The train doesn't have medicine for bruises. Roll the warm egg on it, it helps with swelling. I took it. Thank you. He was the most handsome soldier I'd ever seen. Even with a crew cut, his face was striking, sharp jawline, strong brows, star-bright eyes. He carried himself like a sheathed blade, calm on the outside, deadly underneath. My cousin was good-looking, but this man's presence was something else entirely. I noticed the girl with the braids, the one who'd tried to take my seat, glaring at me like I'd stolen her lunch. Her eyes were full of poison. I was confused for a second, then I glanced at the man beside me, and it clicked. She hadn't wanted to trade seats because of the window view. She'd spotted this soldier and wanted to sit next to him. That's why she'd been so eager to swap, and so furious when I refused. Well, I wasn't stupid either. Between sitting next to some random middle-aged man or a good-looking soldier who practically radiated safety, the choice was obvious. At least I wouldn't have to worry about my things being stolen while I slept. Something about his face nagged at me. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. If I'd met someone this handsome before, I'd definitely remember. Unless it was in my past life? I couldn't figure it out, so I let it go. He noticed me glancing at him a few times and seemed a bit caught off guard, probably not used to girls looking at him so openly. After a while, he nodded toward the remaining eggs on the little table. Want me to peel another one? You can keep rolling it on the bruise. I shook my head. No, it doesn't hurt anymore. Then keep the eggs for later. You might get hungry. Thanks, but I don't eat egg yolks. Only the whites. So boiled eggs would go to waste. You should keep them. It was a quirk I'd never been able to shake. When I was little, I choked badly on an egg yolk, nearly died. After that, I couldn't stand them. The taste, the texture, the fear, all of it stuck. In a time when food was precious, throwing away the yolk of a boiled egg was unthinkable, so I just avoided boiled eggs altogether. Scrambled was fine, but whole boiled eggs were off the table. The soldier didn't push about the eggs. I picked up my sketchbook again and started drawing, but I had to hold the notebook in one hand since I couldn't reach the fold-down table for my aisle seat. The soldier beside me noticed and called over to one of his men. Pei Zhao switched seats with this comrade. Pei Zhao glanced at me struggling with my sketchbook and understood immediately. He came over with a smooth excuse. I prefer the aisle anyway, easier to get to the bathroom. I agreed and moved to the window seat with the table. Yunting saw the switch, but didn't worry. They were soldiers, so he trusted them. With the table in front of me, I got to work properly. I spent the whole morning designing 3 outfits, practical clothes I could actually wear in a rural village. My silk dresses and imported outfits would stand out like a lantern in a cave. I needed to blend in. The soldier, I still didn't know his name, watched me draw. I could feel his eyes on my hands as I sketched, though he didn't say a word. When I finished, I took a sip of spirit spring water from my canteen to clear my head. Around noon, the food cart came through. Box meals. Get your box meals. The soldiers bought 6 meals for 5 people. The extra one appeared in front of me. I blinked at it, not sure what to say. We'd just met. He read my hesitation.
Take it.
Consider it an apology for your forehead. I couldn't refuse without making things awkward, so I accepted and quickly told Yunting not to buy me lunch. He looked a bit uncomfortable seeing strangers feed his cousin, but since I'd already opened the box, he let it go. Most people on the train were eating food they'd brought from home, dried bread, pickled vegetables, that sort of thing. Only a handful of us bought the boxed meals. That girl with the braids, Fong Li, was sitting near Yunting's section, and I could see her gripping her lunchbox so hard it was bending. She was furious that I was eating a meal the handsome soldier had bought me. I heard her whispering to her friend, "Look at her, flirting with that soldier in broad daylight. With those fancy clothes, she's probably some capitalist's daughter, living off the people's blood." Her friend Shin Xiaoxia tried to shush her. "Keep your voice down. You can't just call people capitalists. She's pretty and well-dressed. That doesn't make her an enemy of the people," Fong Li snapped at her. "Whose side are you on?" I heard every word. Apparently being good-looking was now a crime. The soldier, named Pei Zhao, broke the silence on our side. "Comrade, your drawings are really impressive. Did you study art?" I smiled.
Sort of.
I had a few years of training, but mostly self-taught now. That was technically true. Without my past life's years of study abroad, I'd only have basic skills. Those look like fashion design sketches. Yes, just killing time. Then Zhao Jianjun, the cheerful one who'd knocked my pencil, asked where we were headed. "And city." The last stop. His face lit up. "Really? Us too. Are you visiting family?" "No, we're going to the countryside. Volunteering for the national program." All 5 soldiers looked surprised. I dressed down as much as I could, but they still saw right through it. Everything about me screamed city girl, soft hands, clean skin, the way I carried myself. Zhao Jianjun grinned with genuine admiration. "Your political awareness is really something, comrade." "I'm Zhao Jianjun, by the way. Since we're all headed to City, might as well be friends for the ride." He had the most infectious smile, a row of white teeth, and an easygoing warmth that didn't match the stern military image at all. I smiled back. "Nice to meet you, Comrade Zhao.
I'm Lin 11.
Sitting with you soldiers is definitely my good luck. At least I don't have to worry about safety tonight, with soldiers sitting all around us." I didn't just feel safe. Yunting's side of the aisle was covered too. No thief in their right mind would try anything near a group of military men. I was chatting with Zhao Jianjun and Pei Zhao when something appeared in front of me. The soldier beside me, I still didn't know his name, had quietly peeled all the remaining eggs, split each one open, removed the yolks, and placed the whites in a bowl lid. He slid it in front of me without a word. I stared at him. "I thought, I don't like egg whites," he said simply. "I only eat the yolks." I glanced at his men. Every one of them looked completely baffled. Clearly this was news to them too. "This is too many. I can't eat all of this," I said. "They were bought for you anyway. Eat what you can." I gave in. Free egg whites from a handsome soldier who conveniently didn't like the part one wanted? I could live with that. I told myself it was fair compensation for the purple bruise on my forehead and started eating. The soldiers all watched me eat with these soft, amused expressions. I'd grown up pampered, small bites, straight posture, unhurried. Apparently watching me eat made these men, who usually wolfed down food in seconds, slow down too. The soldier beside me kept glancing over when he thought I wasn't looking. I ate almost all the egg whites but left the fatty pork pieces in my boxed meal untouched. I liked meat, but not chunks of pure fat swimming in oil. It was too greasy. I couldn't give my leftovers to someone else, that would be rude, so the meat just sat there. He noticed me staring at it. "If you can't eat it, don't force yourself. It is pretty fatty." When the food cart lady came to collect the boxes, she saw my untouched pork and clicked her tongue. "Comrade, meat is precious. Not eating it is really wasteful." Before I could respond, Fong Li, that braided girl, jumped in from across the aisle. "Auntie, look at how she's dressed. She's obviously some rich family's princess. She probably eats meat every meal and got tired of it. How would she know what hardship feels like?" I'd had enough of this woman. She'd been trash-talking me behind my back for hours, all because I wouldn't give her my seat. "Were you hiding in my sewer, spying on my meals? How else would you know what I eat every day? Does standing here attacking me make you feel better about being poor? There are plenty of people better off than you in this world. Instead of asking yourself why you have so little, You'd rather demand answers from people who have more? What kind of logic is that? Half this train car is doing better than you. Are they all criminals too? Do you live by the ocean? Because you sure like sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. The whole car burst out laughing. People who'd initially sided with her suddenly realized she was just being nosy and petty. Fong Li's face turned red and purple. She lost all composure. You waste food and won't even let people criticize you? This is capitalist behavior. People like you should be publicly condemned. Before I could fire back, Yunting stood up. My cousin looked refined and scholarly on the surface, but underneath he was sharp and ruthless, the kind who never forgot a slight. Comrade, accusations require evidence, not just a loud mouth. My sister left a few pieces of pork and suddenly she needs to be condemned? Look at that collection bucket. It's full of leftover rice and vegetables from dozens of passengers. Should they all be condemned too? Or in your world, only meat counts as food worth saving? Every word shut her down completely. She had nothing left to say. The food cart lady waved her hands, embarrassed for starting the whole thing, apologized, and wheeled away. Fong Li's friend Shen Xiaoxia pulled her back down into her seat. Her face was an ugly shade of purple. She muttered under her breath, "They waste food, and somehow they're the ones who are right." I heard her perfectly. I raised my voice just enough for the car to hear. Ugly people always cause the most trouble. Then I sat down. Fong Li looked like her nose was about to fall off her face. She wanted to scream, but she didn't dare open her mouth again. The soldier beside me watched the whole thing with wide eyes. I think he'd been about to step in and defend me, but I didn't give him the chance. Neither did Yunting. The soldier looked between us and seemed both impressed and slightly amused, like he just realized this delicate-looking girl could bite harder than most men. Zhao Jianjun looked at me like I was some kind of hero after the argument. Lin comrade, you're incredible. I was all ready to back you up, but you didn't need any help at all. Pei Zhao rolled his eyes at him. Since when do you have guard dog potential? It's not that, it's admiration. I've never met a girl who can insult people without using a single curse word. That's what education does for you. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that. The quiet soldier beside me just looked at Zhao Jianjun like he was watching an idiot. After lunch, I added some spirit spring water to everyone's canteens, Yunting's, grandfather's, my mother's, just a little, so nobody would notice. Enough to keep them from getting too tired on this long journey. Then I went back to sketching. The car grew quiet as people napped. The soldier next to me seemed to doze off too, his head tilted toward me. I looked at his face again. That nagging feeling returned. I knew this face from somewhere.
But where?
It was driving me crazy. His eyes suddenly opened and caught me staring. I panicked and blurted out, "I need to get out, bathroom." He stood up to let me pass. I told Yunting where I was going and headed toward the bathroom. The one in our car was occupied, so I walked to the next car. After finishing, I stood by the door between carriages for a moment, watching the scenery through the window glass. The train was approaching a station. As I turned to head back, someone bumped into me hard. A middle-aged woman was holding up a young girl who looked dazed and barely conscious. "So sorry. My daughter-in-law is feeling sick. She's a bit unsteady." Something was wrong. The young girl's eyes were glazed, unfocused. She didn't look sick, she looked drugged. Every alarm in my head went off at once. I grabbed the girl's arm and clutched my stomach with my other hand.
Ow.
My belly. My baby. No. You can't leave. If something happens to my child, you're responsible. People gathering to exit at the station crowded around us. I played it up, begging the bystanders for help. "Please, someone stop them. I'm 3 months pregnant, and they knocked right into my stomach. If they leave and something happens to my baby, what am I supposed to do?" The woman's face changed instantly. She tried to pull the girl away, snapping at me for being unreasonable. Then a man in his 40s stepped out from nearby, clearly her partner. "Honey, the train's about to stop. Take our daughter-in-law and get off first. I'll stay and take this young lady to the medical room. We'll pay whatever we owe." He was trying to separate me from the girl. Classic move. I held on tighter. "No way. If she leaves and you disappear, then what? We all go to the medical room together." If the doctor says my baby is fine, you can leave. I won't ask for money. They exchanged a look. Too many witnesses, they couldn't run. They agreed. Just then, the soldier appeared. He'd gone to the bathroom too, but when he saw the crowd and realized I hadn't come back, he came looking. He saw me clutching my stomach and gripping the girl's arm. What's going on? I grabbed his arm and gave him a meaningful look while putting on my most pitiful voice. Honey, you're finally here. I just came out of the bathroom, and these two knocked into me. Now, my stomach hurts. Is our baby going to be okay? He caught on instantly. Without missing a beat, he stepped into the role. If you injured my wife, you're not leaving until a doctor examines her. Let's all go to the medical room. The woman's face went white when she realized my husband was a soldier. The man tried again to send the woman and the drugged girl ahead while he stayed behind, but I shut that down immediately. We got them to the medical room. The moment the corridor was clear of passengers, the soldier moved. He seized the woman's arm, twisted it behind her back, and kicked the man in one fluid motion. The man pulled a knife from his waist. You ruined everything. Die. He lunged at the soldier with the blade. But even while restraining the woman with one hand, the soldier kicked the knife clean out of his grip, then delivered a spinning back kick that sent the man crashing to the floor. He didn't get up. The trained police heard the commotion and rushed over. I pointed at the two people on the ground. They're human traffickers. Arrest them. The officers grabbed them immediately. The soldier, I now knew his name was Gu Tingxiao, looked at me with something between surprise and admiration. I gave him a thumbs up. Nice teamwork, Captain. Great moves. He smiled, actually smiled. You're pretty impressive yourself, Comrade Lin. My name is Gu Tingxiao. Just call me by my name. We both gave statements to the police. The drugged girl turned out to be a young educated youth traveling alone to the countryside. She told us the older woman had sat across from her, chatted her up, then followed her to the bathroom and waved a drugged cloth in front of her face. The girl stayed conscious but couldn't move or speak. If she hadn't bumped into me, she would have been gone. Gu Tingxiao didn't take any credit. He told the police the whole thing was my doing. They took down my address, Hudo Village, and said they might send a commendation letter and a reward. I didn't care about rewards, but having an official police commendation could be useful in the village, so I let them. When Yunting came looking for me, I didn't mention the traffickers. I just said I'd been stretching my legs and looking at the scenery. No need to worry him. After that, something shifted between me and Gu Tingxiao. We had a shared secret now, and it made things more comfortable. He seemed like a genuinely good person. Back at our seats, I leaned on the table and pretended to rest, but my mind was racing, reviewing everything from my past life, planning my next moves. When I finally sat up, the sun was setting, and the car had gone dim. The overhead lights flickered on, casting a yellowish glow. For dinner, the soldiers ordered box meals again, but I told Gu Tingxiao I'd eat my own food this time. I pulled out small bread rolls and sliced sausage from my bag, all homemade. I'd spent the previous afternoon and evening baking bread in grandfather's old stone oven and steaming sausages made from seasoned meat and starch. I'd made enough for the whole family to eat 3 meals on the train. I even had roast duck in my space, but the smell would draw too much attention, so I stuck with bread and sausage. The moment I unwrapped the oil paper, the sweet aroma of bread filled our section. The soldiers' boxed meals suddenly seemed a lot less appealing. Zhao Jianjun stared at my food with huge eyes. Comrade Lin, how come your steamed bun is brown? And it smells amazing. What's the filling? Pei Zhao nearly choked. You idiot. That's not a steamed bun, it's bread. This stuff is more expensive than meat. Zhao Jianjun's jaw dropped. A steamed bun that costs more than meat. I laughed. Relax, I made these myself. They're nothing fancy. I brought plenty. Want to try some? The sausage too. I pulled out 5 fist-sized rolls and a big packet of sliced sausage from my bag. Pei Zhao was stunned. He'd eaten bread before since his family was better off, but he knew this stuff was nearly impossible to buy even at the friendship store. Zhao Jianjun scratched his head sheepishly. Comrade Lin, we can't just take your food for free. How about I trade you some ration tickets? His expression, embarrassed but clearly dying to taste it, made me crack up. These men had given me eggs, bought me lunch, helped me catch traffickers, and handed me all the credit. Sharing some bread was the least I could do. Comrade Zhao, it's just food. You gave me an orange, remember? We're even. He grinned and immediately distributed the rolls, one per person. They opened the sausage packet too. Everyone thanked me warmly. Gu Tingxiao looked at the little bread roll sitting in his meal box and then at his men with a pained expression. I could practically hear his thoughts. Are these really my soldiers? Taking food from a girl? He looked embarrassed on their behalf, but he didn't say a word against it. Gu Tingxiao stared at the bread roll in his box with a complicated expression while his men devoured theirs without shame. Pei Zhao, this is better than the friendship store bread. Zhao Jianjun. First time eating such delicious bread. Feng Chao. This sausage is incredible. Even the quiet one, Zhang Zhenhua, mumbled delicious. I nudged Gu Tingxiao.
Try some.
The sausage is cold, but it still tastes good. He hesitated, then took a bite. I could tell from his expression that he liked it, even though he didn't say much. Zhao Jianjun grinned at me with that sunny smile of his. Comrade Lin, you're amazing, pretty, educated, and you can cook. Whoever marries you is the luckiest man alive. I smiled but didn't respond. His words pulled me back to my past life. I'd gone from a pampered young lady who never entered a kitchen to someone who mastered cooking, all for a son I raised with my whole heart. I spent years perfecting recipes to suit his tastes. And that son turned out to be my husband's bastard child with his mistress. I bit into my bread and stared out the window, chewing slowly, lost in bitter memories. Over on Yunting's side, a girl sitting across from him watched him unwrap his bread with longing eyes. She shyly pushed a boiled egg toward him. Comrade, could I trade an egg for a piece of bread? Yunting glanced at her, pushed the egg back, and said flatly, sorry. I'm allergic to eggs. That was Yunting. If he wasn't interested, he shut it down immediately. No mixed signals, no false hope. The girl buried her face, embarrassed. After 10 at night, the car grew quiet. Gu Tingxiao told his men to sleep while he kept watch alone. I think he was worried the traffickers might have partners on the train who'd come looking for me. He stayed awake guarding our section all night. I tried to stay up, but around midnight my eyelids got heavy. I leaned back against my seat, fighting sleep. By 2 or 3 in the morning I was out cold. At some point, my head slipped sideways and landed on his shoulder.
He didn't wake me.
He just let me stay. When dawn started breaking, I shifted in my sleep and somehow ended up hugging his arm against my chest. I felt something warm and solid, and my eyes snapped open. I was clinging to Gu Tingxiao's arm, my face inches from his shoulder. Our eyes met. I let go so fast my hands practically flew off him. Thank God everyone else was still asleep. It's still early. You can sleep more, he said, perfectly calm, as if nothing had happened at all. My face was burning. I slammed my forehead onto the table and pretended to go back to sleep. Twice in one day, I'd grabbed this man's arm. The embarrassment was going to kill me before any enemy could.
No, imawaka no.
You should sleep. You've been up all night. I managed, my voice stiff. He was about to refuse when Zhao Jianjun woke up, stretched, and went to wash his face. With someone else on watch, Gu Tingxiao finally leaned back and closed his eyes. He slept for about 2 or 3 hours, light sleep, since every noise in the car made him twitch. When he woke, I needed the bathroom. Before I could even open my mouth, he was already standing to let me out. It was like he could read my mind. I used the train bathroom first, then ducked into my space to wash up properly, spirit spring water, my own toiletries, clean hair, fresh face. It felt luxurious after a night in a cramped seat. When I came out, Gu Tingxiao and Pei Zhao were standing in the smoking area between cars, cigarettes in hand, wreathed in thin blue smoke. The two of them leaning against the wall like that, Pei Zhao with his rebellious edge, Gu Tingxiao with that cold, untouchable intensity. They looked like something out of a movie. I understood completely why Fong Li had been so desperate to sit next to them. Pei Zhao waved. Morning, Comrade Lin. Morning. Greeting someone outside the bathroom door felt weird, so I hurried back to my seat. Behind me, I heard Gu Tingxiao stub out his half-smoked cigarette. When he came back a few minutes later, I noticed he'd made sure the smoke smell was gone from his clothes before sitting down next to me. When Gu Tingxiao came back from washing up, he found Pei Zhao had taken his seat and was chatting happily with me. One cold look from his captain, and Pei Zhao smiled sheepishly, but didn't move. "Captain, why don't you take my seat? I'll keep Comrade Lin company. Sit back." 2 words. That's all it took. Pei Zhao slunk back to his spot instantly, though he kept trying to talk to me from across the way. "Comrade Lin, which village are you going to? Maybe we'll run into each other." Before I could figure out how to dodge the question, Gu Tingxiao's voice cut in. "Are you doing a background check? Should she give you her birth date and zodiac sign too?" Pei Zhao shut up. I bit back a smile. Gu Tingxiao was pretty useful to have around. What Pei Zhao didn't know was that his captain had already memorized my address when I gave it to the police after the trafficker incident. He knew exactly where I was going. The rest of the train ride crawled by. I sketched. They watched me sketch. We ate breakfast. I had an apple Yenting gave me, and another small bread roll. Fruit was a luxury in this era, but the Jiang family had never gone without. The old man who'd been squishing Yenting into the edge of his seat finally got off at the second-to-last stop, and my cousin could breathe again. 1 more hour to go. I must have fallen asleep, because the next thing I heard was Gu Tingxiao's low voice right beside me. "Comrade Lin, we've arrived." I mumbled something soft without opening my eyes. Apparently it sounded like a kitten, because when I looked up, he had an odd expression on his face. My arms were completely numb from sleeping on them. I rubbed the feeling back, then touched my forehead. The bruise from yesterday was completely gone. The spirit spring water had done its job perfectly. I noticed Fong Li and her group were also getting off at In City. She shot me one last venomous glare as she walked past. I didn't bother looking at her. Gu Tingxiao suggested we wait until the crowd thinned before getting off. Smart, no point getting crushed. Yenting agreed. When we finally stepped onto the platform, my family was already there waiting. Mother, grandparents, Uncle Zhiyuan, Aunt Shuqin, and little Yunwan. "Captain Gu, we'll be going now." I waved goodbye. "Take care on the road," he said. He and his men smiled and waved back. They had a mission to get to, so this was where we parted ways. Outside the station, and city was still dim in the pre-dawn light. We needed to catch a bus to Qi County, another hour and a half. I wanted to stop at a guest house and let my grandparents rest after the long train ride, but they all looked surprisingly energetic. Not a hint of fatigue. Grandfather straightened his plain gray shirt and shook his head. "Strangest thing. Normally I'm out of breath walking across a room, but after all those hours on the train, I feel fantastic. Besides, we're supposed to be humble volunteers going to the countryside. Checking into a fancy guest house would look bad. Let's keep moving." Grandmother agreed. I knew the spirit spring water in their canteens was the reason they felt so good, but I couldn't exactly say that. The bus station was a short walk away. When we arrived, there were already quite a few people waiting, including those 8 educated youth from the train. 5 women, 3 men. Fong Li saw me coming and muttered something to Chen Xiaoxia. "Still can't get rid of her," she grumbled. Chen Xiaoxia whispered, "You think they're going to the countryside too? Dragging the whole family along? Probably got sent down for some crime." The girl who'd been sitting across from Yenting on the train, Zhou Hongying, spotted him, and her face lit up with shy excitement. Fong Li noticed immediately and cut her down. "Zhou Hongying, wipe that lovesick look off your face. A man like that is way out of your league." Zhou Hongying turned red and denied it, but she was too scared of Fong Li to fight back. Their group leader, Li Weigua, the oldest among them, told everyone to stop bickering. They were here to work the land and learn from the peasants, not squabble like children. That shut them up. While we waited for the bus, I set up our suitcases so my grandparents could sit and rest, and we all ate a little something. It wasn't until nearly 7, with the sun already up, that a beat-up old bus finally rattled into the station. The bus was small. Our group plus the other passengers filled it instantly. The smell inside was terrible. Sweat, and something worse I couldn't identify. I cracked the window, but dust billowed in, so I had to close it again. The roads were awful, unpaved dirt and gravel, full of holes, winding through mountains. The driver didn't slow down for anything. People started vomiting out the windows. which meant nobody behind them dared open theirs. My stomach was churning. I took a secret sip of spirit spring water and felt better immediately. After over an hour of being tossed around like beans in a jar, we finally reached Qi County. Several passengers stumbled off the bus bent over and retching. We moved away quickly. From Qi County, we still needed a 40-minute tractor ride to Baiyang Commune and then a 20-minute walk to Hutto village. The remoteness of this place was staggering. And city was in the south, and Qi County sat deep in the mountains. The commune had 13 districts with nearly 300 brigades. Baiyang was the smallest, only 7 brigades. Hutto village had barely 50 households and was merged with neighboring Zhaojia Gully into one brigade, totaling about 180 families split into 6 production teams. Labor was scarce, so output always lagged behind. But the people were decent, which was exactly why I'd chosen this place, both for revenge and because the villagers were honest folk. When the tractor finally showed up, I realized those educated youth were also headed to Baiyang Commune. The tractor could only hold 17 people. I'd learned from my past life exactly how much the fare was, so I jumped forward immediately and handed the driver our money before anyone else could react. "Uncle, 8 people, 64 cents total. Here you go." The other passengers rushed to pay too. The driver collected for exactly 17 seats and cut it off. Li Weiguo was still fumbling to gather his group's money when the tractor filled up. Fong Li exploded at him. "You're too slow. Now we have to wait another hour for the next one," Li Weiguo snapped back. "If you'd had your money ready instead of relying on me for everything, you wouldn't be standing here complaining." Fong Li glared at me like I was personally responsible. I caught her look and thought, what is this woman's problem? I literally just paid for my own family's seats. She'd been hating me since the train over a seat I wouldn't swap. The tractor bed had small wooden stools crammed in, exactly 17 spots. Our luggage hung in a modified rack underneath. I'd ridden this same tractor in my past life when I needed to go to the county seat, so I knew the setup well. It belonged to Baiyang Commune, used for farm work during busy seasons and for passenger runs during slow periods to earn money for the commune. We arrived at Baiyang Commune around 10:30. It was only April, but the southern mountain air was thick and hot with no breeze. Everyone climbed off, sweating. We still had a 20-minute walk to Hutto village. I was worried about my grandparents, so I went to the tractor driver. "Uncle, I'll pay you 1 yuan if you drive us to Hutto village. My grandparents are elderly, and we have a lot of luggage. It's too much for them to walk in this heat. It'd only take you a few minutes, and you'd earn extra money." He looked hesitant. "Miss, this tractor belongs to the commune. I can't just change the route." I pulled out a handful of white rabbit candies and pressed them into his hand. "Uncle, please help us out. The vehicle is meant to earn money for the commune, right? What's the difference where the money comes from? You're not stealing it. You're putting it to good use. It's just a short detour." He broke into a grin. "You sure know how to talk, little miss. All right, deal, but 1 yuan, no backing out." I paid the driver his 1 yuan and we climbed back on. The tractor chugged along belching black smoke, and what would have been a 20-minute walk took less than 10. When it pulled up to the brigade headquarters, people came out to see what the fuss was about. This was the commune's only tractor, and it rarely came to the village. Uncle Zhenwang, the driver, announced cheerfully, "Brought you some guests. They paid for a ride. They're here to settle in Hutto village. Treat them like family." The villagers stared at us like we were creatures from another world. Their clothes were faded and patched, and here we were, city people dressed in clean, fitted outfits. Yunting and I drew the most attention. The village girls and young wives couldn't stop gawking. I thanked Uncle Zhenwang and asked my family to wait under a shady tree while Yunting and I went to register at the brigade office. The brigade leader was Zhao Ziyuan, a man in his 40s from Zhaojia Gully, a bit rigid but honest. He welcomed us and explained that 2 batches of educated youth had already arrived this year, all housed at the collective dormitory. We were the first family to come for voluntary settlement. Since Zhaojia Gully had no empty houses left, we'd be placed in Hutto village. That was exactly what I'd planned. "We'll follow whatever arrangements the brigade makes," I said. He sent his son, Zhao Yucheng, to walk us to the village chief's house. Yuchen was 22, skin rough from years of sun and wind. He was talkative and friendly, pointing out landmarks and telling us about village customs along the way. When we reached the village chief's home, my heart tightened. There he was, old Grandpa Zhang, sorting dried herbs in his courtyard. In my past life, this kind old man had helped me more times than I could count. He was the village's only doctor, a former barefoot physician who still treated every sick villager who came to his door. Most couldn't afford medicine, so he'd climb the mountain alone to gather wild herbs. That's how he died in my last life. He went up the mountain to pick medicine for a widow in the village, slipped on the steep trail because his legs weren't steady anymore, and fell off the cliff. By the time they found him, he was gone. This time, I'd make sure that didn't happen. Grandpa Zhang. These folks are here to settle in the village. My dad sent me to bring them over, Yuchen called out. The old man's face broke into a warm smile. Welcome, welcome. Tell your father I'll take good care of them. I stepped forward with a package.
Grandpa Zhang, I'm Lin 11.
This is my grandfather's family. We're new here, so I brought you a little gift, some pastries. Please accept them. He waved his hands. No, we don't do gifts here. Keep your food. The village barely has enough grain as it is. You need to save everything you've got. While he lectured me earnestly, I quietly slipped the package back onto a shelf when he turned away. He led us to look at houses. There were only 2 empty ones in the village. One was near the educated youth dormitory, small, but close to other people. The other was at the foot of the mountain. Isolated, no neighbors nearby, but the building was in decent shape. We'll take the mountain one, I said immediately. Privacy was exactly what we needed. If we were going to eat meat from my space, the last thing I wanted was neighbors smelling it. All right. That place has a nice yard too, about 3 foot of land. Good for growing vegetables. He walked us there. The house was a mud brick structure, like every other building in the village. Even by local standards, it was rough. The walls were crumbling, everything was dusty and neglected. The chief's definition of in good shape just meant the roof didn't leak. Little Yunwan wrinkled her nose. Grandpa, it's so dirty. We really have to live here. Grandfather patted her head gently. Yes, sweetheart. This is our home now. He wasn't upset, actually. After a lifetime of wealth and worry, the idea of simple country living seemed almost peaceful to him. The village chief asked one more time if we were sure. I nodded, already thinking ahead. Grandpa Zhang, can we tear this down and rebuild later? If we were going to live here for years, patching up this ruin wasn't worth it. Better to start fresh.